to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down infamous.
Hello, and thank you for joining the Infamous Podcast. My name is Brandon, or Mutilus on the forums.
And I'm Parker. I go by Tweak on the forums.
I'm Jeremy, and I don't go by anything. It's just me.
Just Jeremy.
Just Jeremy.
Jeremy's new name is just Jeremy.
I have nothing to hide, criminals.
Nothing to hide. All right. Well, again, thank you for tuning in. Today is our first episode of the Infamous Podcast. If you are interested, we have a episode 0 bonus-ode that we released, or you can not listen to that if you want. That's fine. So today, the first topic we have coming up is news. News. So the small amount of news we have so far is Bullseye and Daredevil's cards were spoiled today. I believe Parker's the only one that's read them in full because he likes those characters for some reason.
I did not know this. First little factoid. Even though I've read so many comic books, I cannot remember knowing Bullseye's actual birth name is Benjamin Poindexter. And that is like the nerdiest name I can conjure it. I think Eugene Poindexter is probably the only thing I could make it worse.
I mean, without going to the DC universe, probably.
Yeah.
Oswald,
so I think
Oswald Cobblepot. That kid is going to get tortured.
Yeah.
So question. Mm-hmm. Is that the most spandex released in one box set?
Ooh.
Nope. Spider-Man's.
Yeah, I think the Spider Bros is probably more.
Yeah, because at least Bullseye and Daredevil have some buckles and belts. But I said, at least Bullseye has boots and gloves that aren't spandex, right? So does Daredevil. They're his pants are loose.
Is it?
His pants are loose.
Yeah,
he's wearing Uggs.
Whose pants? Yeah. Daredevil's pants?
Yeah, look at the backside of his backside of his card.
On his injured side? I don't know. Those look pretty tight. If I wore those pants, you'd be like, dude, those pants are tight.
Below the knee, those are combat fatigues. Yeah, the thighs are pretty tight, but he's got to keep it. He's got to keep his junk up tight. Right?
He's got to keep it taut.
He's got to get flips and stuff. Right?
Okay. I don't know. That's still a lot of spandex.
Nevertheless, my main takeaway from spoilers is I love they made Daredevil a 4-point character. I think it's super cool because. The Batman type characters where you're just a regular dude with a power that doesn't really make you super fast or super strong or super invincible or something like that. It might be tempting to make them all 2 and 3 point characters, all those kind of small fry compared to your Thors and the like. Mm-hmm. But I like that they made him a 4-point character and then gave him stuff to make him worth 4 points. So
yeah, maybe. I think that if you're 4 points and you're not a leader, you need to be reasonably strong. I don't know that I got that from reading, skimming his card, but I haven't really spent the time to take it in because it just came out today.
I mean, he has permanent. I can do this all day with radar sense. So all of his.
Well, I did read that part. It doesn't work on Mystic though.
No.
So it's not as good as I can do this all day, and he has less defense dice. So, I mean, he's not Captain America, which, very few characters are on that level. But, yeah, he is certainly not a pushover.
I feel like he's... One of the things, actually, when I read him, is I went, he's almost like a Spider-Man doppelganger. If you took Daredevil off of the card and you just look at the card, you'd be like, oh, they must have printed another Spider-Man. That's kind of speed long, all defenses 3s, 5 health, 4, he's got defensive power, he's got a wall crawler, he's a lot of his stuff looks like he's Spider-Man 2.0, which I thought was kind of interesting. I'm not saying it's bad.
Well, I was going to say the thing noticeably absent from his card is the massive amount of board manipulation that Spider-Man has.
Right.
Spider-Man... Sorry, Jeremy, what'd you say?
I was just going to say, for a 4-point character, you have 2 things you can do, right? 4-point characters need to be beaters of ass or removers from objectives. Mm-hmm. Those in between, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm honestly very unimpressed with this card, just skimming over it, but I'm not saying he's bad, but he doesn't appear to do a huge amount of damage, and he also doesn't appear to do a lot of board manipulation. So at 4 points, not being a leader, that seems like he's going to get left out of a lot of lists.
He has an auto push, which is pretty cool.
Auto push?
Yeah, Devil's Deliverance has a push at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's a thing.
That's not terrible. It costs 5, though.
It's area. It's area.
AoE 2, yeah, it's area 2, so it's a huge area, but it is 5 power. He's speed long, so he can probably get into position to use it.
I think he'll be. He kind of suffers from what you guys were just mentioning, which is the same. When we get to Spider Friends one day, I'll tell you my beef with Spider-Man, which is I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man's my favorite character in all the comic books, and so I was a little mad that Spider-Man is a 4-point character and where he is at, like how he can contribute. And I think how he can contribute is he does all the things all the Spider Friends can do, but not quite as well as all of them. We'll talk about that later.
Well, I think the key on Peter Parker specifically is that he has potentially like 3 ways to manipulate the board in one turn, and he's speed long. Like, those are really powerful mechanics to put together on one person, and I get that making someone expensive because they do one thing really well is kind of rough, but I think it's probably fair. Because I think at 3 points, he'd be unstoppable. Like, he'd be in every list.
And that's why he is 4 points, because he's 100% balanced around 4 points.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think Peter Parker having 1 more hit point would probably be the sweet spot for me. But which means if we're splitting hairs down to a single hit point, it's probably not that big of a deal.
But then you go back to somebody like Daredevil, right? We're talking about him.
Mm-hmm.
Then if he doesn't do what Peter Parker can do, is it just Devil's Deliverance? So you're just playing him as a, hopefully gets 5 power and bombs out on a group of, enemies. I don't know if that's worth a 4-point investment. Maybe he lives long enough with radar sense and you feel really good about that, but...
Well, he has 1 more hit point than Peter, and I haven't done the math on rerolls versus blanks, but 5 and 8 versus 3 and 8 with rerolls, considering skulls, it's probably pretty comparable.
Does he have any good cards? I haven't looked at any.
No, we don't know. We've only seen their character cards.
So maybe he's got some good setup cards.
Very possibly. And he's in... We don't know the Marvel Knights affiliation yet, do we?
No.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure we have not seen Marvel Knights anywhere that I know of.
So, because as far as I know, Daredevil's not even in a faction yet, right?
Not yet, unless they explain. But right now...
Yeah, I don't think I've seen one either, because he's not in Defenders, right?
No, he's not.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so I would expect him to... There'll probably be something... Although, who's going to lead Defenders, then?
Doctor Strange leads Defenders.
Not Defenders, sorry, Marvel Knights.
I
guess they could do... Because I don't know anything about She-Hulk's background. Parker, maybe you can help me here. But I know that she's on the recent release schedule. Do you know if she has anything to do with them?
She's what they could do with Marvel Knights is kind of make it like Marvel Knights / New Avengers. And if they did, because they could wrap up She-Hulk and Luke Cage, Iron Fist. So Luke Cage and Iron Fist could be on the Defenders and on Marvel Knights, because they've also been in Marvel Knights series. And if they do that, Luke Cage could actually be Marvel Knights leader, because he was kind of the leader of the New Avengers, kind of a street version, literally a street version of the Avengers.
Okay.
So I don't. That's kind of like the Spider Foes or the Syndicate. You're just like, pick somebody. Like there's been lots of Spider Foes. There've been lots of bad guys that are affiliated with crime. So pick someone.
Okay.
So did you guys talk about Bullseye at all?
No.
Nope.
No.
I honestly was surprised that he didn't ignore line of sight with his attacks.
Well, he's not Boomerang.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't have a lot of comic book exposure to these guys, but I would assume he'd be able to like ricochet stuff. Like, I figure like trick shots were kind of his thing.
Oh, actually, no, that's actually Daredevil.
Okay. I just figure if Captain America can do it, then Bullseye should be able to.
I can't think of a comic book where he like bounces things off of things. The whole point is he never misses, right?
I guess not.
Everything's a weapon.
When you say bullseye, you mean Benjamin Poindexter?
Yeah, I mean Benjamin.
You're referring to Benjamin? Okay.
Benji the
Ben?
coin.
I cannot wait for the games where people are like shit talking each other. I don't know if this is a normal practice in other communities, but in the Midwest, around like the Kansas City to like St. Louis area, there's a lot of shit talking that happens friendly over the table, and I can't wait for all the misses he makes, and it's like, good job, Poindexter. Like, it's gonna be amazing.
Way to go, Benny.
Yeah.
You can spend 1 power and never miss, though. So there's that.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, that's actually an incredibly good ability.
Yes, it is.
Being able to, like, hey, that guy's at 1. I'll just spend a power and he goes away. Like, that's so good.
Yeah.
Range 4? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Right.
The immediately makes an attack followed by a move action, like hit and run. I think at 3 points with 5 health, and his ability set, I think he's aggressively costed. I think he's actually very, very good for his points.
Well, this is going to be good because this will be a perfect talking point for later on how these characters do or do not make it into lists.
Mm-hmm.
So, last little bit of news, upcoming on the release schedule for October 9th. I believe it's been confirmed. We have the Marvel Knights are coming out, so it's going to be Bullseye and Daredevil, Kingpin, and I'm drawing a blank on this third box.
Punisher
And Taskmaster, that's right. And so, like, the street level people. And then also, because street level, we're getting the construction site train set, which I'm super excited for. And also, did you guys see the panel to page for Punisher?
Yes.
I'm so excited. I was really worried that he was just going to be like Bucky 2, like just generic throwaway range 5 assault rifle guy, and he sounds really interesting, so I'm very happy.
I'm really excited for like Thor and the Asgardians to come up to my Punisher, and I just like strap Syntex to his chest and run away. He just explodes.
Nice.
Jeremy, have you read the panel to page?
I'm looking for it right now. I don't see it.
So they basically just talk about vague like talking points of the characters, but the 2 big talking points we got for Punisher are every time one of his allies are KO'd or dazed, or is it just KO'd? I think it's KO'd or dazed. He gets a vengeance token, and he can spend power. I think it's maybe even 0 power to assign them to an enemy. And once they have the tokens, they stay on them until he attacks them. And when he attacks them, you can spend tokens to add dice to your attack.
So tell me who else has vengeance. I saw that recently.
I think it's just him.
No.
Okay.
There's possibly someone else, but I'm unfamiliar. It might not be a vengeance token. I might just
Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider. I think is vengeance stuff.
Sorry. It's a punishment token.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Punisher's thing is called the Fallen.
Yeah,
I got it.
When friendlies get KO'd or dazed, you were right. He gains a punishment token to use against foes, and then
that's kind of a common thing now that they're going to be doing.
Not necessarily. It's a different token than Ghost Rider. I don't think anyone else has his type of thing. But I know Hela specifically gains soul tokens in a similar manner. So
Gotcha.
Anyway, the whole point of the ability is that they're talking about how I believe you spend 1 token to get 2 extra dice on the attack. And so if he could get up to 3 and you put all 3 on one person, they say he could potentially roll like 10 dice on an attack against somebody, or maybe it's just 1 extra die. I can't remember. I kind of skimmed through the article.
It says, it says you can discard between 1 and 3 punishment tokens, adding that number of dice.
Okay, so yeah, it's 1 per.
So apparently one of his attacks is a 7 dice attack or something like that.
Yeah, that's high, but it's not out of the expected range.
It's a sniper rifle attack, so he could spend all 3 punishment tokens to get a 10 die aim shot attack.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
Yeah, and then also he has a countermeasures type effect similar to Rocket Raccoon, where he's got the booby traps, except his is called what is it called? Warzone. And so if someone ends a move near him within, I believe it's range 2 of a piece of terrain, he can activate the ability as a reaction, and the terrain explodes, dealing a set amount of damage to that character.
Yeah, it's really good. So
Smith,
you get 3 power. Any terrain feature within 4 of the Punisher, he makes it explode, detonating, hitting nearby opponents for 2 damage, and the terrain goes away.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a whole another way to to deal with terrain. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Also, a
And-
way to do 2 damage to like really hard to hit characters.
I think as an unexpected like counteractive, like if you have a Punisher and you're playing against like Thor, Hulk, or somebody, you just run him up near the size 4 terrain, and you're like, I dare you to come over and try and throw it at me because I'm just going to blow it up in your face. And so it's a whole new counterplay where it's just like, I dare you to stand next to this truck. And there's like, I guess I won't because I'm just going to take 2 freaking damage for no reason. I think it's going to be really good.
And it's just damage, right? Like you can do
Yeah,
that
it's
to
flat
cap.
damage, yeah.
Just 2 damage, yeah.
Yeah. So it looks like they're adding a lot more auto damage to the game in the next like set of releases.
Thank God.
I don't know.
Thank
I like that
God.
I love all the street characters. Just like the whole point is like no nonsense, right? Like we don't rely upon luck. We're just like this thing is lethal. That's what it is. It's
Yeah.
lethal.
It's a bomb.
Yeah.
We made a bomb.
All right. So I think that brings us out of news, and so that brings us into our main topic, which is going to be list building today. So we're going to do a basic intro to how we go about building our lists, and we're going to talk about it as a group and see if we can find any good tips to give out, or specifically how to basically just build a cohesive list. As far as tools for list building, there's 2 list building applications that I'm aware of. One of them is a website. That's called Northern Realms, and it's also gammawave.tv, it looks like. It's basically just a web-based list builder. If you're not familiar with it, you can just search MCP list builder, and it's one of the first results. The other one is a Android app that's on the obviously the Android market, but it's posted on Reddit. There's a Reddit post that talks about it. And so if you're interested in getting digital help building your list, you can go to those 2 resources. So how do you guys basically go about building your list normally? I know usually I start with I just want to play a particular faction, so I'll sit down and I'll just pull out all the faction characters, pull the ones I want aside, and then just try and fill holes that I might have come up to at some point.
Generally, I look for I try to combine it because this, we haven't. This episode is not about scenarios, but it's something you have to think about whenever you're building, your grouping. Like I like to start with like a primary group that I'm going to count on for most situations. I'm going to pick my scenario pool based on like that point point level, and my favorite thing is to try to disadvantage opponents with my point levels that I've chosen, and I know that's like a 50-50 shot, right? Because if you fail the roll, and I guess it's not 50-50, whatever the chance is.
Are you talking about the roll for priority?
Yeah, the roll for priority.
It is 50-50.
That's right. It would be, yes, because there's only one roll between 2 people. But yeah, if with the 50-50 shot of getting priority, I know that like my game plan that I'm going in with might get shifted. So that's what the other members of the roster are. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to play for a 17-point list of this faction. I'm going to try to shore up this faction's defenses with a few characters maybe thrown into that 17 points. I'm going to try to get that 17-point scenario. If I fail the 50% and my opponent picks a different point level, well, that's what the other part of my, roster is for, is being able to continue to play even if I'm being asked to play at a different point level. So that's generally how I attack it. Is I look at the points I want to play first for the faction I want to play, and then I work back from that.
Okay. Do you find that you're pretty much always trying to build to a specific point total?
Yes, and the only reason why I did that is I felt like, well, first of all, 17 points. There's so many more 17 points than any others. So generally speaking, I shoot for 17. Like that's generally what I start with. And I wonder if that's actually, now that I think about it, I wonder if that's actually kind of a throwback to every other game I've ever played. Like points are the thing that actually limit you in what you're doing. And in this game, when they told me I could take lots of characters and the points will just be, constructed while the game is starting, maybe I was just searching for some place to start. And so that's why I looked at the scenarios first and tried to make a game plan around that point level first. But that's where I begin anyway, is thinking, okay, I'm going to plan for usually 17 points. But I mentioned because of specifically faction, because I think some factions perform better at slightly below 17, and some factions perform better above 17. So sometimes, depending upon the faction I'm excited about playing, or building my core primary list choice around, I may deviate from that 17 points, and therefore also, my model choices will differ.
Okay. So, Jeremy, what do you think? How do you usually start building a list?
So it's interesting. A lot of people, I think, kind of fall in the Parker category, where you kind of break it down to numbers and you start thinking about what can you do with specific, numbers. You're looking at what guys can I take? What are the best, most efficient routes? I'll be honest. The first thing I do is I look and see what I have painted. It could be the best model in the world, and it is not going on the table. The second thing is make sure that there's something that I like that's going to happen, whether it's something I'm going to do to somebody or something that I want to accomplish on the table. Now, that's all aside from, do I have models that punch people in the face real hard? Do I have models that can move people off objectives and still win a game? That's kind of a tertiary when it comes to what I'm doing. I just, with the Marvel and all the cool characters and all the stuff, I'm jamming stuff in lists all the time just to see what's interesting and see if I can, I heard it before. It's called panning for gold kind of deal. Sometimes there's a nugget in there that you didn't realize, or it might just be hilarious, but I'm kind of that player. And then eventually, you play it all a million times and you'll get to the point where you're like, this is what I really love. But this game is so new. It's all kind of cool for me right now.
Yeah. I know that usually the first thing I do as part of my list building process is I just go and just lay out all my cards pretty much. I keep them in top order, so I just lay them out on the table, and I just kind of I want to play this stuff, and you just kind of grab what you want, and it's well, that's all this faction, so here we go. And then kind of make it fit. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys ever do this, but I, my head's always in the Marvel comics. I'm always thinking about the comics, and I love creating lists that are cinematically make sense. So, for some reason, I just never even think that bad guys are in this game when I'm building lists.
That is phenomenal.
I'll just be like,
that is great.
I'll sit here and go, well, I'm playing Spider Friends, so clearly I could never pick the Green Goblin because he would never be a Spider Friend. So, the other day I was building a list, and I went, man, I really need a 3-point character that can manipulate dice pretty well. That would go really well in this list. But there are no Avengers with that. And I was like, wait a minute. What about, oh yeah, Baron Zemo is technically a character in this game. Even though he's evil, I suppose he could be in this list. Mm-hmm. And I really struggle to play the bad guys. I don't get excited about picking them ever. My need for efficiency and list optimization. Sometimes I will look at it, but it's really funny. Brandon, you're talking about all the characters out on the table. I have a stack of all the good guys and a stack of all the bad guys, and the bad guys have cobwebs and dust on them. I just don't.
I definitely do have to take a second to consider options outside of my comfort zone sometimes, because even though the game's fairly new, there's still a lot of character options, and I think that's only going to get more of an issue as time comes on. Which I think it's going to be really important for us to start mentally sorting these characters into categories, which is something we might do on the podcast at some point. So specifically, usually what I'll do is I specifically tend to play Avengers a lot because I enjoy having my abilities discounted, and I also enjoy frustrating Jeremy. So I play Captain America is my first add to my list, and then I'll go through, and it's kind of just how I'm feeling that day if I want to play Thor or Hulk. And then if I don't feel like playing either of them, then my list can get real weird. But usually I like playing one beat stick kind of character, and then a lot of ways to make them work. And then I like filling in holes around that. And so, but yeah, I definitely will get to points where I'm it very well might be possible that Zemo or Crossbones might be the correct option, and I just don't look at them as hard as I do a Valkyrie or, I don't know, what's our good 3-pointer? Can't even think it was. Valkyrie's the answer. Just put Valkyrie in your list.
Wasp is a good 3-pointer.
Nope, just Valkyrie.
Drax is a good 3-pointer.
Actually, that's probably true. Drax is pretty good.
Well, that leads to a whole other thing. Picking your list, your local group of people are going to be a huge problem.
Yeah, especially...
If you don't account for that,
I would say specifically if you don't travel to tournaments, but right now, very few people are traveling anywhere. So yeah, your local meta is really the answer. It's what are you playing against, and how do you need to overcome that?
If you don't have an answer for, currently an answer for Captain America or an answer for Hulk, they just walk on you and you're just miserable. So you have to have at least something.
I think you're just used to me playing Hulk. Hulk's really bad. Like, he's a terrible character. You're just angry because like that one time I cosmic invigorated Hulk, and you're like, this is the worst game ever.
I don't know if you guys have noticed the theme of what Brandon has started to mention so far, but Brandon loves king making in this game. Brandon loves going, hey, I bet I could make Thor do 4 things this round. I bet I could do that. And then he does. My character, my lists always have like one character that looks like they just came out of a WoW raid, and they've got like the giant shoulders and like every piece of gear you can imagine. There's like 8 people standing around like starving to death. Like, why are you so strong? He's like, shut up. It's like, I have to kill everyone myself. And so I always tend to make one character really strong, which is why I've been playing Black Order lately. I was going to say, that's why you get that Black Order.
Yeah. I don't even necessarily like playing Thanos. I actually just like killing people with Corvus Glaive.
He's mean.
He's mean.
He is really mean.
Yeah.
I saw the movie too. Yeah, he's a jerk.
He actually is a total like wimp in the movie. Like, he doesn't do anything. He gets beat up by Captain America.
In the comic books, he is so badass all the time. He's kind of in the comic books. It's funny. They made the Ebony Maw like the voice of Thanos. Like, he's the one you meet at the beginning of the movie, where he's like telling everyone in this very calm voice what Thanos' goal is. But in the comic books, Ebony Maw says nothing ever. Like, he's always in the background. He's a manipulator. He's like a subtle, subterfuge kind of guy. He's a mental manipulator at all times. So the guy doing all the speaking is Corvus Glaive, and Corvus Glaive speaks like a prophet in the comic books. He's like, aren't you so glad that Thanos is here murdering all of you? Like, that's like, that is like, he's always like very boisterous and like a mad kind of prophet. He's got this incredible conviction about everything he says. He's so cool in the comic books.
Yeah, it's weird that they gave all the good lines to the Maw, because I think Corvus Glaive only speaks like 3 times in the whole movie.
And he screams a whole bunch in pain.
Yeah, he's like the death throes are 90% of his dialogue.
Yeah.
Like a gorilla. That's about it.
Curiously, Black Dwarf, spot on the comic books. He just gets pwned constantly. like he just, in the comic books, he shows up to die all the time.
What is it? It's like the Trollblood infantry in War Machine in the books. Like, you turn a page and it's just like, whenever they want to show that something is really powerful, it's just killing like hundreds of Trollbloods. And they're like, no one explains why they always pick Trollbloods to die. And it's like, why? It's like, they're just like a meat grinder. What's
funny is that after reading the comic books and seeing the movie, I thought they were going to make Black Dwarf in the game this total punching bag, but they actually made him super strong.
He's really good.
Yeah. One more thing for list building, the thing I thought about with list building is I often do the opposite of that, Brandon. I actually try to fit as many characters as I possibly can in the lists. Like, I was just building a list today that only has 3-point characters. Is where I started.
Well, I mean, you can do that. I mean, obviously, it's the opposite of Black Order.
Right.
I actually think that the swarm tactic is going to become really popular as soon as we get a couple more like really good 2 or 3 point characters out. Because if you can run a list that's like 8 characters, I just don't understand how the order of activation advantage would not just like massively sway one way or the other. Now, you would effectively be playing without a faction ability most of the time, although I guess you could probably squeeze into Guardians. But maybe, I don't know, it'd be pretty close.
It's actually getting really close to being able to squeeze it into Avenger. Like, it's Captain.
Yeah, but 4 points starts swaying it, and there's only the 1 2-pointer. I don't know, I think here, I'm going to actually...
I mean, can't the Wakandans get pretty close? They haven't kind of heard.
There's only 4 of them.
Yeah.
You mean just because there's the 2 cheap ones?
Yeah.
But there's only 2 cheap ones. The leader's 4 points, and the 4th guy's 4 points. Because when you got to remember, though, it's got to be the majority of your list, and so if you're running 7, you need 4, and that's the hard part.
Well, to be fair, 2 2s and 2 4s is the same as 4 3s, right? It's still like a 12-point.
Right,
unit.
but the list I'm thinking of is like 4 2s and 3 3s or something like that.
But Jeremy's point is correct. Like, if you want to run like the faction characters and make it as cheap as possible to put it in faction, I think Wakanda might be that.
And it's very annoying.
Well, but there's only the 1 2-point Wakandan.
Oh, that's right. Shuri is 3. I always forget Shuri is 3. I I don't know why I forget.
Which is the only reason I'm saying that you might look at the Guardians is because they have lots of, they have 2 really good 3-point characters and a good 2-point character, and so you're 3 characters in. Sorry, what'd you say?
Who's the other? Are you saying Groot is the really good one, or Star-Lord?
Oh no, sorry. It's Star-Lord, Drax, and then it's Rocket and Nebula. So you're actually that's 4 characters in, and you're only at 10 points.
Yeah,
and so you still got 7, and then you can throw in like Okoye, Black Widow, and you can throw in who else? Is there another 2-pointer that I'm forgetting? I don't think so. I think there's only the 3 right now. Am I really?
Yeah, that's it.
Am I really drawing a blank on characters? I thought there was one more.
No, there are 4. There's only 4 2-point characters right now.
Okay, so you end up with all 4 2-point characters, and then Valkyrie or whoever you want, Crossbones, because you already have Drax who hits pretty hard. Nebula doesn't hit hard, but she hits really hard for her weight class. And then Drax is strong. Star-Lord's okay. Rocket hits incredibly hard for his point cost. So I think you could actually hang with most people, and you just have more attacks than they do. I'm worried that that's going to become a strategy. It definitely hasn't yet in our meta, and I don't know. Maybe you'll get to the point, because I think a list like that would crumble to Black Order because they all have damage reduction, and so you're having to hit them 10 or 12 times to actually force them down, and the whole time they're dazing you with every attack.
Yeah.
So it might be that Black Order just prevented that from happening, but I'm still worried about it.
It's also you can if you're considering what we're talking about right now is trying to make a list that's really strong against a meta, and if you make a list and it's really good against everything but punts to one part of the game, that's probably a really good version of the game, of the list, right? You've probably done a really good job in list building if you made a list that does well against everything except this one faction of the 5 or 6 in the game right now. Well, then yeah, it's probably doing well.
Jeremy, do you have anything to add?
No, I not to that.
Also, here's the thing about Black Order versus Swarm factions. If a Swarm faction gets a low scenario point scenario, talking about the scenario thing, swarmy factions like Guardians love little points because they're going to be more efficient than something like Black Order at little points. Because if you get stuck with a 16-point scenario in Black Order, you are you could take Thanos and 2 other guys. That's about it.
But I mean, honestly, do you kill any of their characters though? Because you got to remember, Black Order gets an extra victory point for every character they kill.
But like we were just saying, if Drax and Rocket and Nebula get to attack, and they should, I guess, unless there's 3 characters versus
so
3
basically
characters.
the reason that Black Order specifically is really harsh on this tactic is because they also have Proxima and Corvus, which get to double activate every turn, and so they can just pass until you're down to 3 characters. Actually, no, 2 characters. Then they activate Thanos and Proxima and Corvus in 2 activations, and they keep the priority. And so they're only going to be forced to move into you at the end of that turn, and they'll probably daze 3 people. At least if they're all these cheap characters. I just threw a list together. It's Star-Lord, Drax, Nebula, Rocket, Black Widow, Okoye, Valkyrie. And so that's 17. Which just seems impossible to my brain, but it is 17. So you get seven characters at 17 points. Yeah, which is you're probably playing against 3 for Black Order if it's a kitted out Thanos. You can play against the 4 lieutenants without Thanos at 17, or it's basically Thanos and no stones at 17, which is not as impressive. But I honestly don't think you'd really ever kill Thanos. You might win on scenario, but I don't think Thanos would die in that game, because it's just kill Valkyrie and Drax, and then you basically are never going to kill Thanos. But yeah, I don't know. I'd be interested to just watch that game. Oh well, I think we kind of got into a little weird spot here. I don't think
down a rabbit.
Yeah, we went a little bit down a tangent here, but I think it's an interesting point.
I don't think it's so much a tangent as it is when you're talking about list building, right? If you really like king making, then there are factions for that, and if you really like swarm playing, then there are factions for that. But in this game currently, that it's really clear that there are some rock paper scissors going on, right? You're gonna if you lean really hard into something, you're going to you shouldn't expect to just win because you have more models or because you have a king. Like that's not an expectation you should have.
I think there's so many things going on. I really hope that you don't see, 12 models on the table on your opponent's side.
Oh, well, that's not going to happen because you can only have 10 characters.
True enough, but you know what I mean?
Right, but I mean, even if there was 10 2-point characters you played out of faction and you got to choose the 20-point scenario, you then get to play 10 characters. That's the pipe dream right now. And the only worry I have is that those 10 characters are actually good individually. And so I think when they make a 2-point character, like I thought Black Widow was the perfect design space for 2-point character, which is mobile, is defensive, almost no offense, right? It's all counterplay, it's all scenario play. Like they've completely cut one aspect of the game off of the character. And then on Rocket, they just got rid of the defense, which is scary on both sides because he hits, I think, too hard for 2 points. Like, I don't think there's any justification for a 2-point character having his damage output, but he is literally made of paper. And so I get the argument, and positioning is really important, but I think the only thing I see happening with him is you'll get some negative play experiences in, like, newer games because one of the players won't understand how to dig him out, and then they'll get completely destroyed, or they'll play with him not knowing how to protect him, and he'll just get destroyed. And then so they'll never actually get to do anything, or they'll always get destroyed by him. And so that's kind of when those extremely one-sided characters show up like that, it makes me a little worried.
So when you're list building, do you think everybody... So are you playing for polarized characters, or like, are you... I guess when I'm list building, I'm generally thinking about... When I'm list building, I often think, okay, like, which one of my characters am I going to be able to send into the fray? Because there's going to be a fray sometime during the game, right? There's going to be a scenario point that I'm going to have to send these into where my opponents are going to also be. So one of my characters is going to have to stand up and do that. But there's also likely a scenario point where it's in the back of the map. And then if I don't have a character that can contribute in some way from range 5, then I'm not going to be able to... That character's, functionally dead points, or rather just a point that's cashing in the slot machine for a objective point every turn. So like I guess the thing I don't like about Rocket, if there is something I don't like about Rocket, is the same thing I don't like about Shuri. And Shuri has one more point, so it's a little bit different argument, but they are great characters for just, I'm going to sit here on this objective way back here. I have no business also winning the game while I'm doing this, but I'm going to do that also. Mm-hmm. I'm going to reach across the table and win the game while I'm also doing my job of standing on this objective point.
Yeah, I think it's important for your list to have probably one, or at least your roster anyway, of 10 characters. Probably to have 2 characters that are good at just occupying a back objective while still contributing. I think Red Skull is maybe even the best at that, just because he supports the game while not actually being involved. And so, like, Bucky, Rocket, Shuri are all great characters for that. Iron Man's not bad at it. He doesn't quite have the full range, but if you put Iron Man back on one of your objectives, you can pretty much be certain that it's going to be your objective pretty much to the end of the game.
Yeah, I found that Loki could do some of that stuff too, because he would just dodge out of the way and go land back on something. He'd kind of play that middle ground and then escape backwards to things.
Okay. Yeah. So I think we're ready to transition to the next part, which is how many factions do you guys usually include in your lists? Do you usually try and just make a single faction, or do you try and do like a pivot faction where you can bring multiple agendas out of one list?
This question is one of like my biggest, like, what's the way to put it? I really, really desire pivot lists. I love the idea of being able to go, well, this is an Avengers and a Guardians list, or this is a Spider-Friends and a Wakandan list. Like, I love the idea of bringing that group of 10 models and being able to choose at the start of the game. I love that, but every time I try to do it, it doesn't work. it doesn't work. And I'm like, nah, this doesn't work. And so I feel like I look at the dual list, like the dual, like a hybrid list, or rather what we call it, like a switch list where it can switch back and forth. I look at that list and then I compare it to just Spider Friends with good models for Spider Friends.
Just good add-in models, like good mercenaries.
Yeah. And then I go, oh, okay, well, obviously this one that's with Spider Friends and also good people that could play in Spider Friends. Like, that's the one I should go with, because when I try to do two things at once, I'm doing neither very well. But maybe I'm wrong, and somebody will tell me, nah, I did it. It's this. It's Cabal. It has to be Cabal, and I just didn't think about that because they're all bad guys, and I never even think about playing Cabal.
So, Parker, what you're saying is don't half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wisdom.
Yeah.
Wisdom.
Jeremy, what's your opinion on the dual faction list?
So ideally, I'm with Parker on it. I'd love to sit down and imagine a world where I'll put it together and all the points line up exactly right, and I can do it. But what generally happens is I'll build it, it'll seem exactly right, and then my brain will go in 100 directions because I think, you know what, I kind of want to throw that guy real far. So then I'll switch out a model or two, not paying attention to what I'm actually doing.
Oops, I took out my leader.
Yep. And then all of a sudden I'll say, I'm ready to play. I line up my characters, I pull out my cards, and I can only make one list. It has nothing to do. I don't even have a Wakandan for my Wakandan cards.
Like, all right, I'm playing Cabal. You can tell because I have Cosmic Invigoration and Dark Rain. And wait, where's Red Skull? And you look over to your model tray and you're like, no.
Yeah, and I mean, this is real. This happens. Like that's just my train of thought. I'm like, oh wait, I do want to throw that guy, or that guy's gun seems awesome, so I'm going to put him in and take that guy out. And then by the time I'm playing and I've got all my cards lined up, I'm like, well, I guess I'm playing this list.
I can't remember who I was playing, but it was very early on in the game's release. I think it was like December-ish last year, and one of my opponents was like had their models and like had their things on the tray. I'm not going to throw Jeremy under the bus and say it was him because I'm not sure it was, but they're like, all right, I'm playing Avengers. And I look over at those, I'm like, where's Cap? And he goes, oh, I guess I don't have Cap in here. And I'm like, are you sure that's your 10 models? Do you want to switch anything out? He's like, no, this is what I picked. I was like, please pick something else. Like I don't want to play against a no faction list.
No, it's probably me.
I don't know. It might not have been you, right. So I'm not going to claim it was you because I don't truly remember. The game just wasn't that memorable.
I'm certain what I'm talking about, one of them was Wakandan, and I didn't have Black Panther in my list. So that was the biggest one. So I was like, oh, I guess I'll just do Avengers.
So what you guys are saying is that the dual faction list is a lot like the Tricorn, which is the Triceratops unicorn that doesn't exist?
It may not.
Okay. How could a tricorn, if it's a Triceratops unicorn, it'd be a quadricorn? That is the only way to count. You can't
Parker, it's my made-up creature. I can call it whatever the fuck I want to.
Or be a Tertiaratops.
Or what about a Unitops?
So what do? Do you try for the double list?
I usually don't, but I think the key is the dual faction characters for sure. And so if you're going to play a dual faction list, I think you have to play dual faction characters. So what I recommend to Richard back when he was kind of first getting into the game is Wakanda is a perfect segue faction for two reasons. They have multiple very useful mercenary characters in Okoye and Shuri. They work perfectly in any list. Both characters have complete functionality and don't give a shit what faction they're being played in. They're both also cheap. They also have two characters that are faction useful in multiple other factions in Black Panther and Killmonger. And so you basically are going to pivot into either Avengers or Cabal, and you're going to always take the Black Panther or the Killmonger character to help round out the numbers. And so if you're doing Cabal, it's obviously going to be Red Skull, probably like a MODOK, and then a Killmonger, which is going to put you at 3, and it also puts you at 15 points. And so you're basically just going to be squeezing in one or two more characters. And so you could even drop MODOK for someone else if you needed to. So if you want to throw in like a Zemo and then throw in a couple Wakandans if you wanted, or even other mercenaries. And so it transitions really well to others, which is not something that a lot of other factions do at the moment. But as we're seeing releases come out, that's starting to become a lot more common practice. So I think the dual faction list, at least in tournament play, is going to be pretty common going forward.
I think specifically some factions feel like the hybrid faction, or the factions that feel like they can be hybridized. I think Wakanda definitely fits that bill because of like all the things you just mentioned. Furthermore, even their cards, right? Like their cards, a lot of the cards just require like a single character to be present. Not like it's not like all Black Panther. I'm sorry, not all Wakandan characters need to be there to benefit from it. So that's one of like the problems with the Black Order. The Black Order feels like they don't want to be hybridized because so many of their awesome effects are just Black Order models. So even if you throw 2 Black Order models in with something else, it feels like you're losing a lot of their some of the coolest stuff. But Wakandans are not like that. So many of their great effects, whether they be cards or character powers, are just kind of generically great.
Jeremy?
I was actually trying to find if there's another faction right now that feels as good like as that Wakanda. I was staring at them all, and I don't really see it except maybe... Nope. I was going to say Web Warriors for 2 seconds, and I was like, nah, take it back. I don't...
I always felt like Wakandans were great, but I wanted some random dude to be like, oh, he's also Wakandan. You know, fit in there, you know, and it just doesn't seem like there isn't any. But
I mean, unfortunately, due to current events, I think it's unfortunately probably not going to happen anytime soon because I can only imagine the Black Panther 2 movie is going to be heavily delayed if it ever comes out.
Yeah. You just want. I just wanted a few more.
Yeah, and it's possible. I mean, like, there's multiple people in that universe that are, integral characters in the society. There's also a lot of people that deal with them. So going forward, like, who knows, we could see all kinds of stuff come up for them. But I think the Wakandans at least are probably relegated to their current releases for the time being.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that there's not other factions that are going to be really good at cross-factioning. So, like, if you look at Asgardians is another great example. It may be even better than Wakandans because they also have 2 integral characters that transition into other factions with Loki and Thor. And Valkyrie is obviously an easy drop in any list if you have 3 points.
And Angela is a cross-faction character as well.
Angela. If you like ribbons and knives, I guess.
But I do! I finally got the ability to talk about Angela, the podcast! I did it! Mm-hmm. All I want to talk about is Angela, FYI. Listeners, one day, we're just going to talk about Angela. Just me and you. We'll sit down. You'll just sit and you'll hear the sultry butter of Angela.
You realize, though, that Angela doesn't cross-faction into Cabal or Avengers, though, right?
No, she cross-factions into the Asgardians. She's the actual Asgardian of the galaxy.
Is she in the most factions? She's only in Guardians and Asgardian, right?
Yeah. I don't want to tell tales.
She's not in Defenders, is she?
No, she's not.
Okay, yeah, I'm checking now. She's not. Okay,
no, but she is awesome.
You have problems.
Who let Parker talk about this?
Yeah.
How did we open the
new
door?
New topic.
God.
Oh, I'll actually say this. This is actually on topic. That's the only thing I'll say about Angela on topic.
He's doing it again.
No. And speaking of Angela and Enchantress, I'll talk about both of them. One of the things I really am excited about in this game is we're starting to see new factions have come out, and that's kind of what it's been for the whole release of the game so far, is the new faction parade. And so it's made the factions kind of had defined walls, but now that we know factions are expanding like one character at a time, and some of those are dual factions, it'll allow us to redefine what we like about list building as the game gets bigger, because it won't just be, all right, here's the Guardians, this is the only Guardians you'll ever see, that's it. Well, now we know that all of a sudden, now the Avengers have Ant-Man and the Wasp, so if you like this kind of play, well, you get to play with this now and still play Avengers. It changes their list building stuff. If you fell in love with the faction, or if you didn't like the faction for some reason, but then a character comes out and helps you acquire affection for a faction. So,
yeah. I mean, certainly I like the way they've been doing recent releases where they're kind of touching on a couple small things at once. but they're doing a lot of new factions and moving current released characters into new factions that they weren't into before by releasing new factions. And so, like, there's a huge amount of carryover between, like, Spider Foes and the Criminal Syndicate that was recently spoiled because of Kingpin. There's a bunch of carryover between Avengers and Defenders, and I assume there will be carryover between Defenders and Marvel Knights if Marvel Knights comes out. But being that Iron Fist, Luke, and Daredevil are all in Defenders right now, it probably won't happen soon. If it does.
Daredevil's not in Defenders.
Daredevil is in Defenders.
He is?
He is. I feel like you should know this as the only Daredevil fan on the planet.
He is 100% not in Defenders. No.
Parker, he is in Defenders.
I'm looking at the Defenders card.
You know what you should be looking at? The up-to-date PDF on their website.
Dang it.
Got him!
By that up-to-date PDF
got him!
Again. Every time.
Can I direct your attention to the internet, please?
Ah, darn it.
Every
time this happens to me, it actually, here, we're talking about list building. Just like ignore cards that come in boxes because
yeah, I mean that is semi-annoying, but I do appreciate the fact that they're making these changes, because just imagine if like Doctor Strange, Ant-Man, Wasp, and Thor weren't in Avengers, like how upset would you be? Like
I get it, and I'm really happy that Hawkeye is in the Avengers because they
Parker, you would have to live with Angela not being in the Asgardians.
Hey, you take that back. You take it back.
I won't take it back.
So let me ask this: is it just me, or is it like blowing your mind the number of models that are coming out for this game, just like pouring out?
It seems like a lot, but if you think about it, the game's been out, I think, a lot longer than people realize because of the whole shutdown situation. Like the game is a year old. Like in a month, like it's 11 months old. How many models were out for, like Infinity after 11 months? Like it does feel like a lot, but I think a lot of people are under the impression that you need to own everything, and that's quickly becoming not the case. Because like we were just talking about here, like a perfect entry point could be like maybe you just buy Asgardians and some Cabal models because you have Loki. Like you don't need to necessarily own all of the game. And even if you did, there's, like, I've counted it up, as of today, which is late September, after Doctor Strange comes out, we're going to be at 30 releases that aren't terrain. Which sounds like a lot, but realistically, I don't think it is that many.
But each individual model and how it's, like, incorporated into the game and the complexity of all of it, like, it's just a lot.
Mm-hmm. No, it certainly is. But, I mean, I know there's been games before that we played, like we played Monster Apocalypse for a while, and it felt like there weren't enough releases, and then instantly there was way too many. Like it was off-putting how many releases there were.
Okay. It was like a geyser.
Yeah, I know. It's like I just immediately there was 3 times as much as we wanted, because for the first 6 months we were like, man, we need more stuff, and then we got to the point where it was like, all right, that's enough, and it just never stopped, and it was just like raining releases. It's like there's no point to have half this stuff. It's all the same stuff, just re-released. And so that's one of the things I really like about the game is every model, with very few exceptions, feels well designed and feels like there's actually a purpose to them. And part of it is that there's obviously this long-running backstory for each of the characters. But also, like, Bullseye, even though he's a fairly throwaway villain in most storylines, is actually, like, interesting and has specific things that he does that other people don't do. I think they did a good job.
Throwaway villain?
Oh my god,
throwaway
I'm not going to argue with
villain?
you over fucking Daredevil and Bullseye.
What did you do?
All right, Parker, pick one. Bullseye or Angela?
Wait, what? Between what?
Just pick one. You only get to keep one. Bullseye or Angela?
2 Angelas.
All right, so you're choosing to throw away Bullseye. I just want to make sure I hear you correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm glad we can move past the throwaway Bullseye comment.
I was gonna say, throw away Bullseye. Throw him away. I think that in terms of like how fast the game is expanding, the only thing that's becoming untenable for me right now is actually, strangely, the cards that come in the packs, like the characters I'm actually keeping track of.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I have to go back and go, how could I? What could I even? There's so many cards in this game now. It's starting to become.
Yeah, I like that there's a lot of cards, but it does feel.
I liked it.
It does feel like a little bit that there's kind of like the power creep almost with cards, because there's enough cards at this point where there's very specific categories, like I want to be able to heal people, I want to be able to heal myself, I want to be able to increase damage without help, I want to be able to increase damage with help. And so there's like a lot of different small categories and there's almost always a correct answer. But I think the reason and a good justification for how many cards are is if you don't buy everything, you still end up with enough cards to fill out uses that you need in your list.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. That I like about this game is as a person who comes from games like X-Wing, the old X-Wing model of their business model was you had to buy basically every single pack. Sometimes
do you play Imperials? We'll get ready to buy 3 scum ships to get your auto thrusters, because those are $20 each, and you're like, okay.
So you're basically paying like a $60 tax to play the ship you want in a totally different faction. In this game, there are so many cards that I have never felt, even at the very beginning of the game when I just had the basic box and the Wakandans, I did not feel like I didn't have quality things to do. And I also, even when I knew what the other cards in the other boxes did, I wasn't looking at them with envy or going like, man, how am I going to find, $60 to shell out for this model or this thing? I didn't feel like I had to do that because there's plenty to be had in the box that I came with. However, since I abandoned that strategy and just started buying everything, now I have so many cards.
Okay, so I think we're ready for a small exercise I'd like to try. Let's build a 2-faction list together.
Okay.
And so, Jeremy, which faction do you think would be the best main faction?
Asgardians.
Assuming that we're going to build in another faction. Asgardians?
Yep.
Okay, so obviously as Asgardians, we're going to take Thor because he's the leader of the faction.
Oh, yes.
And he's also really good. Obviously taking Loki, in my opinion, because we can cut him later if we need to, but this opens up our options for the most potential expansion. Angela's not out yet, so we're throwing in Valkyrie. And then I'm going to go ahead and put in Hela, even though I don't think she's the best for a dual faction list. I think she's fine in Asgardians, but I don't think I would include her in a dual faction list.
I agree. She's kind of janky and kind of.
But we'll just cut her if we end up with extra space, or if we end up with not having enough space. Okay, so now Parker and Jeremy, what's the best pivot faction for having Asgardians starting? Obviously, it should either be Avengers or Cabal. You think Avengers?
I would actually. It depends upon. Because Cabal is all about Cabal is a great faction for king making and for piling on. Mm-hmm. And as Guardians in general, most of their models are individually really strong.
Okay.
Getting extra power every turn, and just they're generally good independent models. They don't have a lot of synergy and cohesion.
So how about this? I think I have a good way to try and break the tie here. So how about we say who helps their faction more, Thor or Loki? Is Thor better in Avengers or is Loki better in Cabal? And we can try and decide that by talking about what Cabal does, which I think specifically, like you said, it's a lot of ruthless aggression piling on. So Killmonger, MODOK, Crossbones, they're all very heavily I'm just going to annihilate you and worry about it later. And so Loki, I think, adds a good amount of control and defense to that with all of his disruption. Yeah, that's a good way to put that. He's a very board controlling type of character without actually moving people around a lot. But you can also bring the Mind Stone to even do that, and you could also, I think he can take the Space Stone, can he? I'm pretty sure he can. I'm going to double check, but I'm pretty sure. Loki, God of Mischief, can take the Mind
space.
And the Space Stone, yeah. I just wanted to be sure. So you could take the Space Stone and then potentially have 2 ports between Red Skull and Loki. That seems a little redundant, but you could do it. And then flip side, going to Thor, do you need Thor in Avengers, or is he just a win more type model? Bueller? I will say that he's certainly a lot more appealing when you don't have to spend 3 to do his for Asgard ability.
Or Strongest Avenger.
Yeah, making his abilities cheaper, I can tell you from playing Thor a lot, the only thing that slows Thor down is running out of power, because he hits hard enough on his own, and, he obviously has flight and everything.
The thing is, Avengers already has,
hard hitters? They actually don't, for the most part.
No,
Hulk
they really don't. I was about to say they do, but you have to basically buy Hulk, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's, I guess, kind of Captain Marvel if she's already got a bunch of power.
Yeah, but it takes a while to get that train moving.
Yeah. So really,
So what would Cabal add to the mix? I mean, why would you add Cabal?
So the reason you do Cabal over Avengers is like we just talked about, is that you want to play Cabal while also having good disruption effects in your list, which Loki brings really well.
So basically,
but then on the flip side, like they both answer the biggest weakness of their faction, which so we're kind of in a weird spot because they're both really good at fixing the holes. I will say that Avengers doesn't like spending 5 points on characters because they have a lot of really good 3-point characters, or even a 2-point character. But their characters do tend to get pretty expensive, so they don't like spending 5 points on them. But Thor is really good.
Here's an interesting question that happens a lot whenever I'm thinking about hybrid factions. What situation am I playing as Guardians that I'm not that I wouldn't switch over to Cabal, right? So like I see the scenario or I see my opponent and I go, man, I really need to switch to Asgardians because my Cabal list with Loki is going to be weak. It's going to be a disadvantage. And that's one of the things I don't like about Asgardians is I feel like Asgardians are like a Space Marine kind of faction. They're just like, I put them down and they'll generally do well all the time. I can expect them to do okay because they're slightly more expensive and they get slightly more power and they're slightly tougher and they hit slightly harder.
Well, I think you're also underestimating how good the Asgardians can be in a faction where you don't have to spend as much to play your abilities, because I think that there's a really important balance written into their abilities that they expect you to be having to pay for them, which is why you get the 2 power each. But when you can then discount them on top of that, then it can get really powerful. So I think that's nice. And I also think between Loki and Thor, Loki's not going to get as much of an advantage in Cabal as Thor will get in Avengers. And so the faction Avengers helps Thor more than Cabal helps Loki, because Loki doesn't do that much damage.
That's true.
And so I think just for that reason, just for sake of mental exercise here, let's go into Avengers, and then we'll do maybe a Cabal and another exercise.
For the record, I believe I heard Jeremy say before we started this whole diatribe, Avengers, and he was right, just for the record.
I mean, maybe. I mean, I can tell you that I have played this list versus Jeremy, and it was pretty good, so.
Well, I've done it too.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty good.
Sure you have.
Sure I have.
No, but specifically, I think that something a lot of people don't think about is still taking Thor and Loki together in Avengers.
Which is how I generally play it.
Right. I think once you've tried it, it tends to be pretty commonplace. But I think a lot of people don't think about it because you only think about bringing in the faction character. But
you know what it is?
What?
People need Captain America for Avengers, and I hate Captain America, so I fight it. I fight it.
I just assume you went home and just threw your Captain America into the fireplace. Like, you're just like, fuck this guy. This guy's an asshole.
I keep him in my glove compartment just in case. So
I mean, to the audience, just so you guys know, Jeremy hates Captain America because of Brandon's particular Captain America.
Yeah, I can't count how many games he's won for me by just standing in the middle of the table, like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I hate you." Okay. So I'm throwing in Black Widow because obvious. Having a faction 2-point character is just too valuable when building lists at different point totals. It's pretty obvious, I think. So moving on to 3-point characters in Avengers. Any opinions, guys?
I like Hawkeye over Iron Man now. That's my personal opinion.
Okay.
But depending upon what you want to, if you know you're going to play Black Widow, I don't think you need Wasp. But if you want to upgrade Black Widow, I think Wasp is a really good choice as well. She's got a lot of similarities, but she's a little bit more versatile in the stuff that she can do. She definitely hits a lot harder.
Okay.
I do like Hawkeye as well. His that reflex ability is kind of ridiculous.
Okay.
He does. I think he actually performs the role we were talking about earlier, just like standing in the back on an objective, contributing more than he probably should. I think he does that very well.
Okay, so currently our roster includes Thor, Loki, Valkyrie, Hela, Captain America, Black Widow, and Hawkeye, which means we still have 3 character slots left. Just looking at initial projections, a 15-point list, we have Captain America, Thor, Loki, Black Widow. If we want to move up to 16 points, we drop Black Widow for Hawkeye, which I think is a pretty comparable swap. Going up to 17, we basically have the option to bring Black Widow back in and throw in another 2-point character. Like we could find a Rocket or an Okoye, but since we already have Bodyguard, we'd probably be looking for something else, like maybe... I might say Nebula, but I don't think she'd be that great because we'd really be mainly wanting her for objectives. Because we already have, I think, plenty of aggression. Actually, now that I look at the list, it's pretty much just Thor. So actually, Nebula might be a good drop at 17.
Are you talking about the last 2 points? Because with Black Widow, it's 2 points?
Yes. So if we drop Hawkeye out of the list to try and keep our core 3 characters of Thor, Loki, and Cap. Now, don't get me wrong, we could drop Loki, and that opens up a lot of options. But I think bringing Loki and Thor together is actually pretty good, especially in Avengers.
Avengers is already like a kind of like a dig in kind of faction. They like to dig in place and avoid be much more tenacious than other factions. They do a really good job with that, and Loki is good at that by himself. That Avengers kind of brings him up to 11, I think, in a lot of ways.
What do you think about including Rocket, because we have Bodyguard off of Captain America?
That might be fun.
I feel like Jeremy really likes this idea, and Parker doesn't give a shit about this idea.
I don't...
Is it because he's out of faction? Like, what's bothering you?
No. I think he's just going to die like water, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Cap always saves his life.
Well, you have to remember, though, you have Loki, Thor in your face, and then Captain America is either also in your face or protecting Rocket. So, and you got to remember, he's not going to die from one attack. He's just going to get dazed, so he's going to get a couple of attacks off. He's not going to be as prolonged harassment as Hawkeye would be, but he's also cheaper and has higher burst damage.
You just have a 2-point. You just have a 2-point spot left. Is that what you're looking at?
At 17 points, the option is basically 1 4-point character or 2 2-point characters. So I'm looking at a second 2-point option.
Gotcha.
And so we could like drop Black Widow and Rocket and throw in like Vision. Vision's a good 4-point character, I think.
Did you take a stone on Loki by chance?
I did not yet. Do you think we should? Because then we can just stick with Hawkeye and throw in.
I do.
Throw in the Mind Stone.
Yep.
Yeah,
I do.
He needs
power.
a control effect in Avengers. Yes.
Okay.
Also more power for Loki. So he's between Avengers ability and his Asgardian. He's constantly able to duck and dodge.
Yeah, because he's generating 3, effectively 4, because of the discount. Because he's always going to use a power every turn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
okay.
I really like the stone.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, I'm with you. So we'll do Thor, Loki, Cap, and Hawkeye at 17, including the Mind Stone on Loki. So going up to 18, now we're in the same spot where we're basically breaking up Hawkeye into a 4 or 2 2s. So basically the question is now, do we want to add in a 4-point character or a 2-point character? So my 2-point vote is Rocket, my 4-point vote is Vision, probably. But we don't have to stay in faction because we've got Cap. Actually, we've only got Cap and Thor if we cut Hawkeye. So it depends.
Hold on. Are you just trying to get up to 18 points?
Yeah. No, I like to look at all my options at all the points. I like to have a plan for every possible point total in a list. And so that way I'm not at the table going, oh, wow, I never thought of this. And so I can't take the options I wanted. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a good way, because instead of just sliding in random characters that look good at the last couple spots, I think it's good to have point totals planned out.
So instead of Jeremy's way is what you're saying.
Which is add characters.
Add characters that look cool.
Add characters, then remove characters at random.
Yes.
I mean, with all respect, Jeremy's...
Perhaps that does define precisely what I do a lot.
Correct.
To be fair, when Jeremy's like, I only play with painted models, it's generally all the models still. It's just that he likes to point out that he has all of them painted. Because he has
right now,
he has no life and infinite free time.
So are we just looking for a 4-point character that goes in the list?
No, so what we're looking for... So currently our list is Thor, Loki, Valkyrie, Hela, Captain America, Black Widow, Hawkeye. So we have 3 slots left, but when we have everything planned out up to 17 points. Now, if we did an 18-point mission, if our opponent chose 18 points against us, even if we didn't want to play 18 points, what is our list option? Because currently, our list option would be add Hela, which would be bad because then we're losing the Avengers faction. So that's not an option. So we have to either add a 4-point Avenger or play Black Widow and another 2-point character. Does that make sense? Are you following me now?
Now I'm following you.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. So my vote for a 4-point Avenger is Vision. That being said, the only other option I believe is Captain Marvel or Black Panther. And as much as Mittens is cool, I think I would rather have Vision. Vision's a good utility model. He doesn't need a lot of help. He's really good at holding a point by himself. Because you can do the phasing to prevent pushing and stuff if you need to hold a point. He's also very hard to 1v1 without like a 5-point character.
I was going to say, one of the things that our faction kind of has, like what our list is, like what I see our list doing right now is it's taking up the point in the back. Whenever objectives are in the backfield, you've got somebody for that. You've got somebody for like this, like Loki and Cap in the center are going to be so hard to dislodge.
Yeah.
You've got Thor swinging on one flank, and basically you're sending him at the biggest other thing.
Housing things.
Well, Parker, in my experience of playing effectively this list, I would tell you that basically what happens is Thor and Loki charge up the center with Captain America. And
okay, so
because in a lot of games, if your opponent isn't going to force you to spread out, you just take the fight to them. Mm-hmm. But when they force you to spread out, you do have to spread out because you can't give up scenario points. And so I think
in that case, I do like Vision a lot more than Black Panther is another like go ham model.
Yes,
he's another like I'm going to throw you into the middle of this because you're speed long. You'll get there before they do. Mm-hmm. You'll be like ready to speed long and pounce. You're going to get there and be proactively attacking them.
Yes, but again, it's just another character that wants to charge, and because of Loki's control effects he wants to be up in the middle. Thor and Cap obviously want to be up in the middle, and then you've got whoever else we're taking. So far, I actually think it's better. Like, Hawkeye's a great ad here because he's just a sit back and shoot guy. That's why I think Black Widow Rocket would actually be the better choice over Vision, because it gives you the ability to spread out a lot more, which is what the list is really missing, I think.
Then Black Widow can do her deal of tear.
Black Widow can charge up, grab a point, run away. Rocket can just sit back on a point, not even get within gun range if you don't have to. Like, you only shoot them if they come at you. Honestly, you should be trying to find something to hide behind while also being on the point. Because he's only size 1, he can hide behind fucking anything.
Oh, there's always something.
Yeah, there's always like a car or something. And so you just go hide behind that, and then just stand on the point. You don't even need to shoot people. He's only 2 points. Like, you don't have to attack with him.
But he has a gun, Brandon.
Parker, I understand that you must duel everyone. Parker's why did my Warcaster die? Just because I boosted to hit and damage on my hand cannon.
Perhaps, for those of you who don't remember L2 War Game, I have a fantastic track record of always using my gun.
Parker, I bet if we go to the L2 War Game YouTube channel and sort by shortest video, you're in it. I'm just willing to bet. I'm not going to promise, but I'd put money on it.
And
it might be a whole page of Parker. No. We don't know.
Yeah. I popped my feet so that I could shoot the gun twice. That is what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, but it took so long to get there.
Yeah.
So that is the reason why. That is, but just so you know, I will always not playing Rocket without Groot, because I want him to be shooting his gun at all times because I took him. Dang it! And I get it. You'll win
every part of the buffalo.
Doing it.
Every part of the buffalo.
Yes.
Don't waste a knuckle joint.
Even the cloven hooves of the ungulate buffalo.
Definitely don't forget to use the horn. Make sure you use the horn. All 4 of them.
Yeah.
You would win the game, and you would be so upset that there was 2 turns where Rocket did not shoot his gun.
Yeah.
He advanced none. It would be terrible.
Literally, like, he gets thrown forward by your own effect and then moves forward and then declares he's shooting something. All right, so our 18-point roster is Thor, Loki, Captain America, Black Widow, Rocket Raccoon, and the Mind Gem. I think it's a pretty solid 18-point list.
I really like that.
Moving up to 19, I can only assume we're going to drop Rocket for Hawkeye, because that seems to be the way that Parker's going to want to go.
Yay!
It is 4 Avengers, so you could potentially drop Hawkeye for Valkyrie, depending on the matchup, if you're playing against Black Order, for example. and you just need the heavy hitter. So I think that's all good options. 19 points, that is. So going up to 20, we could once again cut Black Widow to bring in Valkyrie.
I actually like Black Widow for Wasp, because Wasp does a lot of the things Black Widow does, only better, in my personal opinion.
Okay.
That's the point.
Yeah, I guess that's okay. I would say, but then you still have Valkyrie as an option for 3 points because you don't need you have plenty of Avengers at this point because you're 4 out of 5, and you're picking up a 6th character.
Valkyrie is another stabby character. I mean, but I guess Wasp also actually does damage. She's actually not a pansy.
Yeah.
And a lot of the characters you have so far, with the exception of Hawkeye, are really short-ranged characters, or they're doing their best damage at short range.
Mm-hmm.
And Wasp is very satisfied doing things a little bit longer range. Also, she has stealth, so if you stick her on a flank, she can actually just hang in there with total impunity, rather than, I guess.
I don't know why I didn't think of this before. Sorry, but you could throw in the other Black Widow as well.
Yeah, the other Black Widow is possible. Because you have Hawkeye, you could do the cool card they have, the combo card.
That's true. Well, just based on the fact that this random list builder I chose to use does not have Wasp added yet, I'm going to choose to do Black Widow 2.
Yeah, I noticed that.
The Black Widowing.
Neither Ant-Man nor Wasp, I think.
Or Doctor Strange. It's pretty much all the new releases. But I mean, they just came out last week, so.
Ant-Man is there for some reason.
What? Really?
But yeah.
Oh my god, he is. Is there a chance she's in here by a weird name and we just skipped her?
I looked. Could not find her.
Wow. Huh. Okay, that's odd. Moving on. Because Doctor Strange isn't in here. Oh, no, there he is. He's in here. He's not in the database that we were using. Okay. Anyway, so I put in Agent Widow. Because she's Agent Widow, not Black Widow.
Thank you. I was confused.
Oh, okay.
Romanoff, right?
Romanoff, not Romanova. Yeah, we cover that in episode 0. Look it up. Yeah. Okay, so we actually only have 9 characters in this list because we've got the Mind Stone. But I think that's fine. Although I don't think we'd really ever take Hela, but because looking at this from a new player perspective, you obviously don't want to buy a bunch of boxes for random characters. So throwing in the Agent Widow allows you to fully use your Hawkeye box. So the only box you're not actually fully using here is the Rocket Raccoon box, which means you're not using Groot. Because you're using all 4 Asgardians. Captain America's in the base box, Black Widow's in the base box. You're buying Hawkeye and the Agent Widow box, which is actually a cheap box, and then the Rocket Raccoon and Groot box. I'm pretty sure the Mind Stone comes with Loki, and so you wouldn't have to worry about that. Although I doubt anybody ever actually make you have the Mind Stone card, because I think I have 8 of them. So going down to Tactics cards, let's go and I guess we'll wait on the Tactics cards for the Tactics cards podcast.
So, just out of curiosity, I'm going to go back to that.
I was going to say, let's actually fill them out, because I think there's a lot of good discussion here. But go ahead, Parker.
I was going to say, I'm going to go back to my first question, which is, we made a really nice Asgardian list, because we agreed that Loki's great in Asgard. We made a really good Avengers list, because we agreed that Loki's an excellent Avenger, and that Thor brings something to Avengers brings something to Thor, and we made these really good choices about our awesome Avengers list. And I'm looking at the Avengers list going, under what scenario at 17 points am I going to switch over to play Asgardians if I know this Avengers list is so strong? That's like the thing about the hybridization thing, is I always end up after I get done hybridizing going, okay, under what circumstances am I ever going to go back to one of my other choices?
You would do it in a situation that you think that the tactics cards would advantage you, or if you just like the build. So looking at it from a Asgardian perspective, obviously you're probably going to take Thor, Loki, and Valkyrie in pretty much every list. And so at 15 points, Thor, Loki, Valkyrie being 12 points, we're basically looking to add in 3. And so I think Hawkeye is a pretty good add for 3 points. It gives you the range character that hangs back, which is really important for a lot of scenarios. Because there's almost always a far back objective that you need to stand on, or you're just going to be giving up free points. Moving on from there, you have 4 points to spend, which you could either throw in Hela, which I actually don't prefer because a 4-character Asgardian list is kind of rough. So I would probably throw in Rocket and Black Widow, which lets you, again, spread out on objectives a lot more, which is the thing that the Asgardians really struggle with. So let's see. That was...
Okay.
Oh, no, that's 16. Sorry. I messed up my points. So you could do Agent Widow and... or you could do Hawkeye and Rocket. Ooh, I actually like that. 17 points. Oh, no, because we're doing the Mind Stone. That's why it was 17 points. Dang, I really like that. We'll do that for 16 then. So I think 17 is Thor, Loki, Valkyrie, Black Widow, and Rocket with the Mind Stone on Loki. I think that's actually a really good 17-point list.
That's not a bad 17-point list.
You've got 3 like push forward guys and then 2 hang back people. I like that.
So my question is, how does, like, for example, the Prince of Asgard affiliation, like, how does Thor's leadership ability, how is it better than Cap's in that
not.
list?
It's not.
That's the thing is, so you're looking at the two lists next to each other, and maybe it's...
Well, because you're not looking at the faction ability, you're looking at the combination of models. And so while both lists, I think, should have a point drop at each point level, but I think, like, the scenario cards are greatly going to determine which one you do. Like, if you get the Mighty scenario, you're probably going to play as Guardians, right? Because the Mighty scenario tends to be, I want to go forward and punch things, and I have a lot of power to spend. That's going to lean more towards the Asgardians. And so it allows you to adapt on the fly, and maybe depending on what your opponent's bringing, that will determine which way you lean as well. Did I lose you?
No,
There's no question that Captain America and Red Skull have, like, the best faction abilities. And so
right,
there's no question about that. But it's not always about just who has the best faction ability, right? Because sometimes you don't want to take Captain America. Like, if there's a list where you don't need Bodyguard, really, and you need more damage, well, Captain America, while making your team do more damage, is not himself going to deal a lot of damage. He's just going to sit there and absorb hits. But maybe your opponent has... like a lot of ways to throw people, or a lot of mystic damage, or like just a lot of ways to counter his abilities. Like if you're playing against MODOK and Loki and Cabal, I probably wouldn't want to play Captain America because he's never going to do anything. You're just throwing away a 4-point character. And so I think that would just put you behind a lot. And so I think taking an Asgardian list might, be more preferable.
I see your point. You're basically the Asgardian list at 17 points you just made is more offensive.
Yes.
Definitely. Like, it has a lot more offensive potential. So if you're looking across at your opponent, you're going, okay, well, my opponent's going to be punished if I have the ability to be really offensive, because you've got 2 range 5 guys, you've got Valkyrie who can move and attack, you've got Thor who can do drop off and all that kind of cool stuff. So you've got lots of mobility and attacking going on. And everything's doing it fairly independently. You don't have to stick close to each other really ever for any reason. Mm-hmm. So if you want independent strikers, then you've got the Asgardians list. But if you want to switch over to more of a cohesive, everybody's got everybody's back, and so they're gonna last a lot longer than the Avengers. Okay.
If you're playing a list that wants you to group up a lot, I think the Avengers is preferable in that manner, because Captain America just kind of makes everything run better in a tight pack.
He's definitely a decoy in my list. Like, I never pick him, but he might be in my list.
Yeah, there's always that too. Like, you can sell out hard to make it look like you're taking a particular faction, and then really, like, your actual faction just buried in there. Like, if I showed you this list, if I organized the characters in the correct order and got rid of Hela, I bet you'd always assume I was playing it, Avengers. Like, I was like, what's your list? You're like, oh, well, I have Captain America, Thor, Black Widow, Agent Widow, Hawkeye, and you're like, all right, you're playing Avengers, and you just quit looking, and then you're like, oh, by the way, I'm actually playing Asgardians, and I have completely different tactics cards than you probably expected I was going to have.
Just out of curiosity, why is Hela in our list at all?
We just never ran into a point, like, I'm going up the points on the Asgardian side, but we never ran into a point where we needed the character slot. And I think we could throw Groot in. Do you want me to throw in Groot?
Well, no, I was just trying to think of, like, if we all agree that Hela doesn't really give benefit to either of them.
Are you saying you want the Space Stone? Just say you want the Space Stone. I'll get rid of Hela.
What should go in there is Enchantress, but she's not out yet, so we can't. But
really? You chose Enchantress over Angela?
Well, no. Honestly, no. I actually would in this scenario, because we already have Thor. I don't know if we need 2 Thors in a list.
You need 2 Thors.
If you want 2 Thors, then yes, Angela. But honestly, Angela is the
So the reason we have Hela is because if you're going to take the Asgardian faction cards, they all require Asgardian. And so it's another Asgardian character. And if you have Odin's Blessing in your selection of cards, it's very powerful, and she can be very hard to kill. And you could, honestly, if you want to play a Live Forever list, throwing her in Avengers is not that bad. Because being able to bodyguard her after... Yeah, Jeremy's got it. He's like, oh no. And so having the ability...
right now.
Having the ability is like, all right, she's on the point. Cap's standing behind her. What are you doing? He's like, well, I shoot her. He's like, okay. And we just watch. He's like, all right, I do 2 damage. He's like, all right, she takes 2. And you're like... And she's already injured. She's like, I shoot her again. It's like, yeah, that's okay. And then you do 2 damage. She's like, I'll play Odin's Blessing and only take 1. It's like, okay, I'll shoot her again. It's like, oh, cool, I'll bodyguard it. It's like, I'll shoot her again. I'll bodyguard again. It's like, and then you shoot her again. It's like, all right, I'll spend 3 souls, come back to life with 4 hit points. He's like, I am literally going to break everything in my collection of bottles if this keeps happening. And then Venom comes from behind with Lethal Protector. Like, no, but...
He's not in the list.
He's not yet. Every list has Venom. He's the 11th character. It's in the rule book.
I guess my question is, like, every single time we've made a list so far, we've imagined what it's going to be. We immediately discount Hela. That is for a reason, right?
That
I
actually
have not played Hela.
That is for a reason, because in the Avengers list, we always needed another Avenger character to break the tie. And so there was never an opportunity to take her until 19 points.
But you just said that Hela would be best on the Avengers side because of how tanky you can make her with a combination of Avengers abilities. So again, I'm going back to, if I'm playing as Guardians and I'm putting Hela in the list just because she's as Guardian, that makes the list weaker because she's not accomplishing something important.
Well, I didn't say that she was better in Avengers. I was just saying that in Avengers is a really interesting combination with her and Captain. But I mean, you could argue that she's better there, but I think if in a vacuum, without situation taken into play, I think that she's probably better in Asgardian, just because you get access to the cards. Like, you couldn't have played Odin's Blessing if you have Captain America as your leader, but you could put Captain America in an Asgardian list, and that would make Jeremy very happy.
Oh my god. I'm getting MODOK back in my list.
He's getting the cold sweats.
Oh, Jesus.
He's going to play Mind Stone in every single list he plays from now on. Just get rid of Captain America.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. How do you build your list? I build it around killing Captain America.
The first 2 characters in my list are Mind Stone and Mind Stone.
Yeah. Well, what do you do about the rest of the game? Doesn't matter. I've already won.
It's a mental game. Yeah, so I mean, I don't disagree that I don't think Hela's a great character. And so if you think there's something that we need to swap her out with, that's fine. But realistically, I think there's enough good options here that you could make a good list at any point total on either side.
Mm-hmm.
And so if Hela's not part of your plan, I think she's certainly the weakest character on this list, because that 4-point slot, when you already are including effectively 2 5-point characters with Loki having the Mind Stone, you're basically never going to have space for a 4-point character that isn't a leader. I think that's just generally true. And so it's kind of like Nature of the Beast. You could easily swap her out for something else, but I don't think you have to. I mean, even if you don't think you're ever going to take her, I think you could drop her for the Space Stone. I think it probably actually adds more option to the list. But again, I don't think it's necessary.
I think he just wants to put together a story, so just give him Groot.
Sure. No, I mean...
Just give him Groot. Just let him
I do
Groot.
think you could take Groot in this list, but I don't think it's important.
I actually wasn't fishing for like a character to replace her. I was like, but I really want to play the Green Goblin. Like, no, that was that. I was just, I was actually just thinking, just looking at it, going, okay, if our Asgardian plan is, or rather, again, we're talking about list building, right? And so if I have a general plan that my Avengers list is going to be, stuck in and dig in and hold. And my Asgardians list is more of a proactive, go out and strike, then Hela does not fit that Asgardian build. She just has the word Asgardian on her card. And so if I'm looking at the list building, oh, well, crap, I need the number of characters in the list that has the word Asgardian on it, then honestly, personally, if that's all we care about, I would actually switch her out for Bucky. because he actually becomes both things, and he even has some combinations with Cap.
He counts that way for making it a faction list, but he doesn't get to use their cards, which is the biggest part of Asgardian.
Yeah, I see your point, but I was just trying to.
No, I definitely think it's something to bring up because you don't want to just be throwing in shit that doesn't make sense.
She's not. Her role isn't defined.
Yeah, she's definitely an odd character. She's not bad. She does a lot of really good stuff. Yeah. And in fact, I played games against her where I was completely infuriated that she existed. But it was just like, but it's just so weird to end up in those situations.
Valkyrie makes a lot more sense.
I'm literally just trying to think of another character that's ever happened with. I guess kind of like Ultron, but different. I don't know. The one thing you can guarantee about Hela is if she's going to lose, she will lose slowly. And so that's a great part of it because she's got a good chunk of hit points. She's got above average hit points, even at 4 points. And she's got a don't die mechanic in a faction that has a don't die card. And so if you want to literally put her on an island while all three of your other world beaters go left, like if you're playing the Kree Power Core mission, I think it is, where there's one real point. It's like who has the football and you're just fighting over it. Because you can just send Thor, Loki, and Valkyrie to the middle. I really doubt you're going to lose that battle in the middle. And then she can be over on the side holding another point for you. And maybe even like come join you after she wins. Because she's just never, like, no amount of 4 points is going to beat her, right? Like, not in the time allotment. And so I think that's important. Like, Spider-Man on a point is pretty good because if you activate him last, he's basically guaranteed to take the point from the person. Iron Man's really good at that for 3 points. He's not guaranteed to, but he's pretty consistent. But, like, there's very few characters that you can just be like, yep, this is your job. Don't lose that point for any reason because I'm counting on the victory points not to go that way. And she'll just stand there and do it for you.
Yeah. I agree.
But again, like we've said multiple times, she's far from the most integral character in this list. So let's move on to the tactics cards real quick. We get a whole 8 of them. I think the most important thing is to choose the obvious selections. I think there's no point in doing a dual faction list if you're not going to actually have an option to play the second faction. And the second faction in this list is Asgardian. So taking Asgardian cards, Odin's Blessing, it's very important for that list. But there's only the one Asgardian card that's really required. And then on the flip side, there's only the really one Avengers card, if you ask me, that's required. And considering how many melee characters we have in this list, Avengers Assemble, very important. The only sad thing, Valkyrie can't use Avengers Assemble.
Oh well, but that was the only one I was looking at too.
Mm-hmm. But now we have 6 more options that can be all kinds of fun stuff.
I think Professionals belongs to one of them.
Yeah, well, you're very wrong about that. So
I love Professionals.
The most important card after those 2, hands down in this list, Drop Off.
Yes.
Drop Off. 100%. And I'm looking at this list now. There's only one character with Fight. But it doesn't matter because he's playing Drop Off every single game. But there's, are there no size 3 characters in this list? I'm pretty sure Hela's only size 2, isn't she?
She is.
Okay. Yeah, I think we don't have a size 3 character. So that's good. So you can play Drop Off on anyone. If anyone's not familiar, you always play Drop Off on Loki. If you weren't sure, always play Drop Off on Loki. It's so good. It gets him where he needs to be because it puts him in the action, so his bubble of debuffing works. And he has a really good melee attack. It helps him get power. It gets him in range to use the Mind Stone. It's so good. It's also, you can do for Asgard and play it because it's still a move. And so, boom, you get everyone in there. You get a bunch of attacks. It's a huge alpha strike. You can also play Drop Off on Valkyrie, which is pretty mean because you're basically just going to kill something. So yeah, Drop Offs is great. The obvious Get Help, which is actually called Sibling Rivalry, which you can play after dropping off, which is also freaking amazing. Okay, so now we've got the 4 staples out of the way. You think Professionals, Parker?
Yeah, so many of our lists have Hawkeye and a Natasha Romanoff. I think it's going to go off. I like it. It's actually one of the things I like about this particular list that we have, is since both Asgardians and Avengers versions could use this card. Like I like that. I like that the card does double duty. It's efficient in both rather than having to be discarded.
I think there's more lists that end up with Rocket than Hawkeye, but if you tried, I'm willing to bet you could get a lot of lists with Hawkeye and the Widow. So I'm going to throw that at the bottom of the list, but that's a good point. I don't even know what the card does, honestly.
Basically what happens is they each play 2. If Hawkeye damages a character that is within 2 of Romanoff, immediately any asset or civilian token is given to Romanoff instantly. She now has the token, period. So basically, he plinks the token.
Oh, you just steal their objective?
You just steal the objective instantly. It requires no actions from Romanoff.
But she has to be within range 2 of the target. Okay.
Yes, so she has to be within range 2 of the person holding the objective.
Active character plays may spend 2 if it damages character with an attack this round. Okay. I don't think there's really a way to sneak it other than she moves up, maybe tries to knock someone out, fails. Oh no, because you could Avengers Assemble to get her into position if she was close. Mm-hmm. So Avengers Assemble, get her into position, Cliff shoots her, drops the token, she picks it up immediately. That might be a really... Oh, you wouldn't have 2 power on turn 1, though. I'm just thinking that might be a really good way to, like... You know, when they move up to take the middle point, and then Natasha just runs up next to them, and she steals it from them? Like, that would be really annoying. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Maybe it's a Rube Goldberg machine, and the actual situations... I've stared at this card going, like, how many times would this actually be super useful?
Yeah, probably not, but it's not terrible, because, I mean... You're not going to use all 8 of your cards every game. So that's a good one to bring up, especially because we have multiple options for this to be played in. So
the one thing that I did think of is both Black Widows, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Black Widow has a little bit more teeth, but both of them just don't knock characters down very well. Mm-hmm. But if you have the professionals in your pocket, then people have to be scared of Romanoff getting close to their objective carrier.
Yeah,
like, you can't just ignore it. Because if Hawkeye is anywhere on the board, he can shoot from infinity far away when his turn activates. So if Romanoff is there, and all she has to be is not dazed, if Romanoff is there and has 2 power, you have to be scared of your objective carrier being near her. And because normally you don't have to. You're like, okay, Black Widow, try to daze me and knock my stuff out of my hands. It's not going to happen. But when all Hawkeye has to do is hit an attack, it's much more feasible.
All right. Jeremy, what do you think? Do you have any options for good cards?
I mean, I'm a sucker for Doom Prophecy, man. I'm going to hit something as hard as you can.
Ooh.
I love Doom Prophecy. And plus, you can use that. I mean, so what?
I mean, if there's a time to use Doom Prophecy, it's on Thor while he's standing next to Cap. That's definitely the answer.
That's what I'm saying, man. Yeah. Like, you've got Cap in the list. It'd be a waste not to put that in there.
It is definitely a fun card. We're definitely swinging for the fences on these.
Come on.
I think that Brace for Impact is a great option all the time, but especially when Rocket's in your list.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that poor little fella.
But isn't it just so demoralizing? Like, oh, I got him. I got to throw along with my MODOK, and they move up, they throw. So it's like, I'm just going to brace that, and they're like, damn it. And also, like, it will probably end up saving his life more often than not, just because they don't bother. Because they're like, oh, he's got brace, I'm not going to mess with it. And so, like, you just get to keep it.
Mm-hmm. One that's kind of generically strong in, I think, any list of bodyguards, and you're, like, counting on your bodyguards, is Psychic Shielding Device. I like that one.
Psychic Shielding Device.
It's any character could play any 1 to 5 power, and this round, while within that range of the character, allied characters are targeted by mystic attacks. Add 1 to their defense roll, so that it helps Cap against defensive mystic attacks, which he might target at him. And all allied characters cannot be advanced or pushed by enemy mystical effects. Or superpowers.
That last part sounds really good, but I think realistically it doesn't happen that often.
Really?
Because a lot of the times
people aren't manipulating the bodyguard to just nullify the effect.
So it can happen, but more often than not, like in games I've tried to get this to work, it's usually physical attacks that actually end up moving you more often than not because you get thrown.
I see.
And so like it is valuable, but as soon as that comes out, it's like they still just shoot you. Like, I mean, Cap, right. The whole point of Cap is that he can survive for most of the game, and playing this for one turn is only going to spend power, I think. Like, it's one extra defense die is probably not going to make the difference, although it could, but it's only bringing him up from 3 to 4. And realistically, what's going to happen is they're just going to throw stuff at him because they're just not. It's not worth their time to actually try and damage him.
Okay,
I do think it's a good thought. I just don't know that it's actually worth the power. Although Black Widow is really good at playing a card like that. But then she'd have to like come forward, depending on the scenario. It could be good. Let's see. Jeremy, give me another good one. Ooh, I got it.
Go ahead.
Inspiring Monologue.
I mean, we need something fresh. That's not fresh.
Nope, that's a good one. Well, that's fresh to the people that don't know us. That card is in every list I play.
It is.
Well, I also play Cap in most of my lists, though. So it's just like, hi, I'm Captain America. Would you like to ever try and deal damage? I'm sorry.
I have a controversial one.
Okay. We can replace professionals.
Okay.
That was one of Parker's.
I really like Recalibration Matrix.
Oh, you do like that one.
Many things. It jacks with so many things.
So my biggest argument against it in this list is I don't know how often these characters will have 3 power to throw away.
I don't know. Late game, mid game, they're all going to get punched in the face a dozen times. I mean, they'll have plenty of power.
Parker, thoughts?
All the ones that cost like 3+ need to do something really awesome. Like,
yeah,
I don't know for Calibration Matrix.
Recalibration Matrix is really good, especially if you can combine it with something like Odin's Blessing. So we're kind of doubling down again, because you know there's those times in the game where it's like, blah, 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 someone attacks you with 6 dice, and the rolls could not go worse for you. And it's just like, they get 7 hits on 6 dice, and you blank out, and your guy just goes away. And it's like, and sometimes that's just the worst moment for that to happen. It is absolutely amazing. That being said, you still have to have the 3 power for it to matter. And so, but yeah, like someone like Thor, who can take 8 damage in a single attack, like, it's really nice. But you kind of already have Odin's Blessing for that, unless you're playing in the Avengers side.
Also, it's a total reroll. So
it's a total reroll, but you can't reroll skulls still. But the main thing is it happens after dice mods. And so if you're playing against like a MODOK or somebody, and they spend all their power to reroll everything, or they use their Dark Rain, they don't get to use that again. And so it's just a raw dice roll. So, and it's after they've already rolled above average, which I know technically has no bearing, but usually they don't spike twice.
I always like it, yeah, because you'll
also remember, you don't
your dice.
Yeah, you don't add crits the second time either, because it's not the initial roll; it's a reroll. And so it really fucks with a lot of people's math. Like someone like Zemo, who's like Swordmaster, reroll for hits, reroll for Dark Rain, reroll for my intelligence, and you're like, what the hell? And he's like, somehow I got 8 hits on 5 dice, and you're like, I hate you. And so like it helps in those situations.
If you want an oh shit button, that's fine. That's kind of what it feels like. But since we're playing Asgardians, we already have an oh shit button. I don't know if we need 2.
Well, you only get it on the Asgardian side, but yes.
That's true.
And I think that's probably better than... Well, I know it's better than Doomed Prophecy. But...
I would actually say before this one, I would go for a utility card like Rocket Boots. We only have 1 flyer. Rocket Boots is just... There are games where you're just going to be like, whoops, I've got to get over this building in order to win. I've got a speed long Black Widow, and she could definitely win the game right now if I could just fly. So, Rocket Boots.
Ooh, they can hurt themselves? I don't know about that.
You do have 2 people that can throw terrain, but yeah. I see your point. But you also have Avengers Assemble for a little bit more mobility. What about tactical analysis? Because that would give us some mobility, and someone like Black Widow could play it on someone else potentially, which gives them an immediate short move, and so it adds some out-of-activation movement potential.
Out-of-activation movement in this game is really strong. Tactical analysis is generically good. I would also consider... if you're going to do generic ones, though, I would actually also consider Marked for Death. Because that's
the one where you can't use any of your like weird defensive stuff, right?
Yeah. So basically, 2 characters within 5 of an enemy character, spend 1, and they lose stealth, become speed small, and cannot modify or reroll defense dice.
Yeah,
So,
that's really good.
I saw that one. Yeah.
But you gotta remember, modifying isn't like succeeding on blanks. So, like, it doesn't affect Captain America other than making him move short. But the best thing about it is it's cheap and it's easy to play. It's really easy to get 2 characters within range 5 of someone.
Also, there are a couple of situations, like there are ways in this game where you're like, oh, mark for death, your Ant-Man lost stealth or your Black Widow lost stealth, and now I'm going to be able to win. There is now a faction where the whole faction rerolls defense dice, so that's going to
That's true.
So like mark for death got better in recent months because they added 2 stealth characters in the game and a whole faction that rerolls defense dice. No, they added 3. They added 3 characters. Miles Morales, Ant-Man, and Wasp all have stealth, and 2 of them also reroll defense dice.
All right, Jeremy. I'm getting rid of Dune Prophecy because I don't think you're ever going to play it.
Damn it.
So
I'd play it. I'm going to tell you right now, I'd play it.
I've tried to get that card to work, and it has never happened. Ooh, alternatively, what about Thunderwave? It's terrible is the answer, but
All right, tell me the ones we have picked. What are the half?
Just a second. I'm going to read you Thunderwave real quick. Beam 5, 6 dice. That's basically 6 dice because you're never going to get 2 people in a beam. If Thor, Prince of Asgard's activation, he is within range 1 of Captain America, he may spend 2. They may each spend 2 power to play this card. So it costs 4 power to do a 6 dice attack.
Oh my god.
While within range 1 of Captain America, Thor, Prince of Asgard can use Thunderwave attacks shown once. Range and line of sight are measured for Captain America. So, and then Thor, Prince of Asgard, is making the attack. That's it. It's just 6 dice. It's so bad. It's so bad. I wish it was better. But
I love it how Doctor Strange came out and they're like, yeah, sorry about all those other special attacks. We made these ones good now.
You know what? To be fair, every time you see them do those cool, like the repulsor beam thing and the thunder wave, you know what's really specific about those attacks? They kill lackeys. That's probably why it's kind of important. They don't kill like Loki. All right, so definitely not Thunderwave. So what am I replacing Doom Prophecy with? Do you really think Marked for Death is that good?
I Marked for Death is, because you only take the 5 cards to the game, right?
Yeah, and you only need to take it if you know you're going to need it. So that's probably a good point too. Okay, I like that as a really good, probably not going to make the cut of 5, but is there if you need it. I like that.
Right, because as soon as they're playing, Ant-Man and Wasp or Spider Friends, you're like, I got Marked for Death. That thing is going to die.
It's Web Warriors, sir.
I'm sorry, Web.
You got your own faction name wrong, idiot. Okay, so I want to cut professionals for a heal card, like either field dressing or med pack or patch up. Really, I think field dressing is really good because you have Thor and Loki. Well, Loki and Cap. I guess you want to get injured, and so that's not actually. Field dressing is really good with Thor specifically because he likes to go in and just fight the whole enemy team on his own. And then when they dogpile him and manage to daze him after they've all activated, you're like, just kidding, field dressing, and he just kills them all again. It's pretty fun. Anyway, would you feel good about dropping professionals for something like Patch Up, where Captain America could just give 5 health to Thor or something like that?
I like Patch Up. I like.
I'm mainly just trying to think of a situation that you could play professionals on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Because you gotta remember, only about a third to half of your list are even going to have those 2 characters in them. And then on top of that, if you do take the card and it doesn't work on basically turn 2, it's never going to work. And so I just don't want people to end with a dead card. If this was a Guardians list, totally in for it. Because, obviously you can pitch it for your rerolls or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a pipe dream. You have to be playing for precisely this, and
I feel like it's Dune Prophecy 2.0.
Yeah,
when you get to swing the 10 dice, it feels great, but you never get to swing the 10 dice.
Yeah, I swing it.
It's because you're over the corner playing with yourself.
A lot of the things and a lot of the crisis the team tactics cards in this game are like the best ones are the generic ones where you're just like, this is going to be useful in lots of situations.
Exactly. Like you always try like the escort to safety or like sacrifice and like all these cool cards, and you're like, nah, it turns out brace for impact's good because you know when you play it every single game. You know when it helps every single game. Mm-hmm. Okay, so currently our tactics cards are Odin's Blessing and Avengers Assemble. Then we have non-faction is Drop Off, Sibling Rivalry, Mark for Death, Brace for Impact, Inspiring Monologue, and Patch Up. Pretty heavy on the defensive cards because we've got Odin's Blessing, Patch Up, Inspiring Monologue, and Brace are all defensive. And then we've only got the Mark for Death is really our only offensive one. I guess you could count Drop Off and Sibling Rivalry, but they're more of just action economy cards.
I mean, you've got Thor. Everyone just runs from Thor. Face Me is hilarious.
Face Me is fun.
Oh my god!
But Thor is actually oddly similar to Thanos because in playing Thanos, you know what I've noticed? He doesn't really hit that hard. He's just impossible to kill and has good action economy. And he just stands there, is like, I will eventually win because I'm like a tidal wave. I'm just going to wear you down over time, and you're never going to be able to hurt me.
But how is that Thor? Thor is actually
Thor's the exact same. He doesn't actually hit that hard. Everything, all of his bonus damage is from throwing. Like, he only rolls 6 dice. That's all he does. He just throws 6 dice, or he throws 5 dice when he throws the hammer. But he just does really good damage consistently. And then all of his burst damage is action economy. When he 4 Asgards, or he gets a free throw, and like when he's getting damage outside of his attacks is when he hits hard. But other than that, he just hits reasonably hard. Like, harder than most characters. Like, most characters have to spend power to hit that hard, but it's not, like, crazy damage or anything. It's not like Corvus Glaive coming in and just, like, severing the world in half.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, but I don't know if the Thanos comparison applies, because unlike Thanos, he doesn't live forever. He takes damage.
Oh, right. Well, he's not 9 points is why.
True.
But he's very similar in playstyle. Like, he kind of just wanders around and does what he wants and smacks people. Like, Thor is really hard to kill. He's got, I think, 14 hit points. It's 8 and 6, right?
Yeah,
and then 4-4-3.
4 defense.
Yeah, he's pretty beefy. And not to mention, when you've got Odin's Blessing, potentially, you've got potential bodyguards from Cap, you've got possible patch-up. Like, that guy having 19 hit points is not going to be a fun day for your opponent.
That's actually one of the things about patch-up that I don't... Like, all of the healing cards, including patch-up, become so much better if you actually have deep health characters, because...
Especially deep health characters that have potential to redirect damage. Because when Loki's messing with their dice to prevent them from spiking, and then you've got potential bodyguards from Captain America or Odin's Blessing to when they roll that 7, you just make it 1 and say fuck off. And then on top of that, you go back to full. Like, with these cards in the list is exactly why I think Hela might see the table. Is because when you combine her generic survivability mechanics with the ones that we're adding to this list, all of a sudden anything's possible.
You're talking about the Asgardian side. So where Cap is kind of taking advantage of a lot of this defensive stuff when you're playing Avengers, when you switch it over to the Hela, to the Asgardian side, Hela can take on some of these defensive cards and utilize them to their fullest effect. I
think you're taking patch up in 90% of your games. The only games that you might not is when you know you're playing against someone that A is going to force you to spread out harder than you want to, like by a long shot, so you're never going to have 2 characters next to each other. Or if you're playing against someone who has some kind of like anti-healing or something, I guess. I'm trying to think of something. But like basically like Corvus Glaive, like if they took the I do damage list, like maybe Cabal, you might not take patch up just because you might not get a chance to use it. But with this combination of characters, I don't see how that even happens.
So how do we feel? Do we feel we got a list?
No, I would take this to a tournament. Like, I think this is a solid list. The only reason I haven't played basically this list is because Agent, Widow, Hawkeye, and Rocket weren't out last time I played this combination of characters.
Yeah, there is something that each one of them actually gives the list. Although I am personally offended that Rocket may not shoot his gun every turn. That makes me mad.
He can shoot it at the car next to him. Just imagine he's planting booby traps the whole time.
That makes me happy.
So did you get enough cards? Do you have your 8 cards that you want?
Yeah, we have 8. So it's the Odin's Blessing, Avengers Assemble, Drop Off, Sibling Rivalry, Mark for Death, Brace, Inspiring Monologue, and Patch Up.
Yeah, I think there's nothing there that is offensive. Like all of that is good.
Yeah.
All of that will work together, and there's really no wrong moves.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no, it's all solid.
Sorry, just real quick. I actually don't like Marked for Death until I like look at this list. I look at how many like long range attackers are commonly going to make it into lists. And between like Rocket, Hawkeye, Black Widow, like there's actually, and like even Thor has like a range 5 attack. Like there's a lot of range in here, surprisingly, now the more I look at it. And so like having Marked for Death there and also against the rerolls, I think it's actually going to see some play. So I'm actually pretty happy with our list of 8.
Yeah. The one thing we just happened to pick, this is something we talked about at the very beginning, like with the Wakandans. There are certain factions that don't have like must-have team tactics cards. So since we played 2 factions that really only had, we decided that there really was one faction card for each of them that we only need to give up functionally 1 slot per choice of ours to the other faction. So like, yes, when I pick Avengers, my Asgardian team tactics cards won't be useful, but I only have 1. So
it's a good point. Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
So if you're playing, that's one of the things I said earlier. There are certain factions where you're like, well, I want to play all 5 of my awesome team tactics cards. Like, well, hybridization is going to be harder for you because you won't be able to count on team tactics.
Didn't we say the Wakandans are like that?
Yeah.
I would say the Guardians probably mostly. Not only do the Guardians have a huge array of characters, so they're going to use up your 10 slots really fast, but they also have like 3 faction cards, don't they?
Well, they have a couple character cards. Like they have.
Yeah, they've got Daughters of Thanos. They've got
Groot and Rocket have 2.
Yeah, Deadly Duo. I think there's a Drax one, isn't there?
There is not a
Drax one. Okay, but then I know there's the Crew of the Milano, and there's a new one that came out in which pack was it?
It's going to come out in Angela.
That's right. It got spoiled. That's right.
He did it again.
Oh my
he did
God.
it again.
We know she's on the release schedule, dude. Chill.
I know. It's called Lovable Misfits is the name of the card, and it's super strong.
That's might be an overstatement.
It's super strong for a faction card, I think, in my personal opinion. It's no Wakanda Forever, but nothing is Wakanda Forever.
No.
A Bombay! a Bombay!
I'm actually very happy with this list. The more I look at it, I'm like, this just really came together really well. I was actually thinking we'd do like 2 or 3 of these, but we spent so long on this one. Oh. I didn't think it would take half as long as it did. But yeah, I'm actually really happy with the finished product. And I think while we were building it, we went through a lot of the decision-making processes we would normally do. And so I think we did a good job of explaining why we were making the decisions we were making. And this could be extrapolated out to pretty much any combination of factions. Obviously, this one being a really strong combination. But hell, you could even do like Spider Foes and Web Warriors. Because, I mean, the Venom crossover helps a lot.
Spider Foes and Web Warriors actually looks really pretty strong. I started to do that the other day. I didn't finish it, but when I started, I was like, actually, this should look like it works. It's kind of funny.
It helps when your main faction only has 4 characters. Like, it's kind of hard to... Yeah. And the expensive one is in both factions.
Yeah.
Like, that's exactly what we just did with Asgardians. Like, there's only 4 characters, and the most expensive one is already in both lists, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. You'll put Lethal Protector, will be one of your team tactics cards, but it'll always work. So...
That one always works.
Yeah. Lethal Protector is so freaking good.
Oh, I forgot you had that. That son of a bitch.
It's because it's from so far away.
He's not a bodyguard.
I actually, there's been so many games where I'm like, ooh, I'm going to play Lethal Protector. I'm like, oh, I don't have 3 power. just like, next. It's like every time someone gets attacked, I look down like, God, how does he still not have any power? Like, I keep spending it to like throw people and like not paying attention to keeping power. I'm like, why doesn't Venom have power? Like,
a personal opinion, hot take. Well-laid plans. That's the Green Goblin and Doc Ock's power.
Oh
I think that is bonkers. Well-laid plans is bonkers and a reason to play those 2 characters.
I can't believe they printed this. It must just be because Dr. Octopus is just so worthless. Like, that's the only reason. He's not. It's so frustrating.
To be fair, it does cost you 6 power on the table.
Don't care.
So it's not like the easiest thing. Sorry. I would say the easiest thing to do. It's actually incredibly easy to do. That's the only hurdle. But it is a pretty steep hurdle.
Roll 5 dice. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to read it.
Tell me what you're talking about. Like,
yeah, so it's Doc Ock and Green Goblin may spend 3 each to play this card. It's an activated card. Roll 5 dice for each enemy character that is holding an objective token. The enemy character suffers 1 damage for each critical and wild in the roll. So it's basically like Counter-Strike every opponent with an objective, but you roll 5 dice instead of 4. A character damaged in this way drops all objective tokens it is holding.
Rocket died.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Rocket's dead.
To be fair, though, you have to be holding one, so it has to be an extraction one. You can't just be standing next to one. So there's probably only going to be like 2 or 3. But if you get like one of those god turns when they take all 5 cubes from you, and you're just like, "Fuck you! Here's 25 dice of damage." You're like, "Oh god!" And you're just like, your team dies. Like,
and you drop the tokens.
Yeah, and you drop the tokens. The player playing this card chooses the order in which the enemy characters are affected. And since they're dropping them, you get to place them. So if they've already activated, you can put them where they can't pick them up.
So everybody just gets pumpkin bombed.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. You just get pumpkin bombs to the face.
Well, it's the well-laid plans. The whole idea is it was their plan the whole time for you to have those objectives.
That's like Batman writing. We didn't know how to make this interesting, so he knew all along.
Yeah. That's the coolest thing Batman does.
That's the only thing Batman does is get written out of bad situations.
We promised in episode 0 we would not talk about Batman. You broke our promise.
That's not true.
Yeah, we did. I remember it.
Well, that's because we're not talking about Batman. We're talking about how badly Batman is written. That's a different topic.
Okay. Speaking of promises, we're on to my most important recurring theme of our infamous podcast.
Unfortunately, Parker, we're running a little long on time. I have to cut that segment.
Oh.
All right, fine. Go ahead.
My most important recurring theme is, what do we think Dr. Doom should have?
Oh, I thought you were going to do Comic Corner.
No, Comic Corner is fun, but I want to know this week.
So we're entering wild speculation about Dr. Doom's character card.
For those of you who haven't listened to episode 0, we're named Infamous, and we love our acronym. But the infamous Iron Man is about our favorite Marvel character, Dr. Doom. And so we always like to spend time talking about what we believe Dr. Doom should have whenever he is in the game.
Yep.
Brandon, you want to go first?
Well, I think we should just do one. Like we're going to have plenty of episodes. So
okay.
We'll just take turns doing a Dr. Doom speculation. So
okay.
Parker, which piece of leaked information would you like to confirm has been confirmed?
Dr. Doom has uneven sides like the Green Goblin, but they're in reverse. So his front side only has like 4 health. The back side, 9 health on the back side. And he's a nice, contemplative ruler of Latveria. Dr. Doom on the front and back side, he's
diplomat.
He goes magic. He goes magic crazy. Don't fuck with me, Dr. Doom.
It's just like Force Lightning everybody.
Yeah. The front side, I want him to have steepled hands in his card art, and the back side has arms crossed. So then you know he means fucking business.
So specific.
Alrighty.
If you've ever seen Dr. Doom drawn, there's only 2 ways to see Dr. Doom, and neither of them will you ever see his pectoral muscles, because either his hands will be steepled across his face, or he will have them crossed across his chest. Those are the only 2 ways Dr. Doom has ever been drawn in a comic book. But it's so menacing and wonderful.
Yeah.
Doom.
Alrighty. Well, I think we're wrapping up for now. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign out. This has been Brandon
and Parker.
This is Jeremy.
And thank you for listening to Muse on Marvel. Alrighty.
You did it.
That sounded like a podcast.
Yeah.
I didn't look at what time we started, but that ran a lot longer than I expected. We kind of ran in circles for a little bit. So next time we're gonna have to clean up the time a little bit. I am glad that we didn't lose Jeremy at any point.
Yeah, no, it worked out.
I was very surprised. I don't know. I wonder if we just randomly started in peak like I don't know, middle of nowhere Missouri internet time, and they didn't have enough internet left for you.
Where?
I don't know.
So just at the stop recording, where did it save to? Where'd it go?
Where did you set it to save to? I've turned my camera back on now that we're done podcasting. That way
Does
I
it
can
always go to the same spot?
see. It does go to the same spot. Wherever you set it to go in settings, that's where it goes.
Okay, then yeah, it's here.
Please rename yours Parker Episode 1 and then email it to me.
Okay, it is 2 hours and 23 minutes long.
That
Good
sounds
God.
correct. Mine is
Parker,
2:23 and 21.
What did you call it? Parker what?
Parker Episode 1.
Yeah, we could have, I was going to say we didn't actually spend any time dilly-dallying. We were
Did you lose
talking
Parker,
about,
Jeremy?
talking about Marvel podcast.
I lost Parker for like 3 seconds.
No, I've got him. I hear
okay.
him.
That was weird.
What I was
What-
saying was, we didn't dilly-dally. Like, we didn't, like...
No, we were talking about
stop
stuff. I just
talking
expected to move through it faster. It definitely took longer with 3 people than I was expecting. But it was good. I liked it. I thought we were on
Yeah, I
topic.
tried not to talk much so you guys could get through shit.
No, I actually was trying to think of ways to get you involved because I didn't want you to just be quiet for long periods.
Well, I mean, the structure of it is, and plus playing more games and getting back into it, looking at the cards fresh again and trying to remember what was going on is there's just so much new shit.
I'm pretty happy with the list, though. Like, honestly, I think
That was a good list.
I might try this.
I think it's solid, and I think that you play it a few times, that could definitely win a bunch of games. There's no reason it shouldn't. But it doesn't do... Again, you fucking stripped out my cards. The ones that, like...
Dune
I looked at the
Prophecy
list
was
and,
a
like,
terrible suggestion,
I'm
to be fair.
gonna fucking play cards that are gonna fucking do some shit.
Cut Parker's card
And you
first.
will fucking run.
Maybe
Did Parker run off? He's actually gone.
he's dead. Parker,
I'm here. I'm right here.
he's dead.
Oh, there he is.
Brandon, why don't I have your email address? What's your email address?
Mutilus. I emailed you last week.
I know. Why would my email not know this? Weird. Mutilist
At Hotmail.
Gmail?
Hotmail.
Hotmail. Hotmail.
Old school. I had someone, I called in to do some online payment over the phone, and they were like, what's your email address? And I was like, blah, 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 at Hotmail. And she's like, what? I was like, Hotmail. She's like, what's Hotmail? Like, oh, God.
Oh.
They literally don't even know what it is.
It's been a while.
Yeah. I actually tried to make a new Hotmail email address for the podcast. They wouldn't let me. They're like, no, we stopped doing this 10 years ago.
Oh my god. For some reason they're not letting me load in my Yahoo CDs for free internet.
Dude,
My
I
American
have my
Online.
AOL discs. I ain't paying for no Google Fiber.
I ain't paying for that. I got
Okay,
40 of these CDs.
Brandon.
Hmm.
You can. It's so the MP4 is so big. I basically went on my Google Drive, and so functionally the email is just sharing it.
Yeah, that's what I did when I sent it to you. It's just uploading it on your end, so I have somewhere to download it from.
And action followed by this like leisure, almost like it's just like a leisurely time. That's what frisbee golf is. The same thing, just less leisure space because there's not, you don't have to walk as far. But
Yeah, I could see that.
Parker, I believe that the point of golf, based on how I understand it, is old drunk people getting in a golf cart and running into trees.
That's one version, yes.
Yeah, that's the only version I am aware of. Okay. Do you guys remember the topic for this week?
No, sir.
Neither do I. So,
I know the topic I'm going to bring up. Very important topic.
God. Okay. All right. So, topic for this week is going to be list construction, and so we're going to talk about our ways we go about list building. This is just the basic version of list construction. So it's just going to be talking about like what we do to build lists, things that we think are good, and then we'll like critique each other's way, and then hopefully come up with like good suggestions for building a list. I have pulled up here the card database, and there is also, what the hell, did I not save that? I thought I did. Okay. List builder. There's a web-based list builder. It is called Gamma Wave TV. Actually, it's northernrealms.co.uk, but it's a web-based list builder.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then there's a smartphone-based one for Android that's someone has made and linked on Reddit. And so I don't know if either of you care, but I'm just letting you know those exist.
So, what's the name of what's the URL for the Gamma Wave thing?
It's northernrealms.co.uk. I just search MCP list builder, and it's the second result, I think. The first one is the Reddit link, and the second one is the web-based one.
Oh, cool. Yeah, interesting.
But yeah, it's called Gamma Wave on the title of the page, but the URL is northernrealms.co.uk. And then it's /MCP list builder.
Yeah.
But these guys are, I believe, based out of Seattle because they're partnered with Ominous, who lives up there. But I don't know that for sure. It's just what their links say. But anyway, yeah, so I'll have these here as we're talking about stuff. You guys are good to go? No restroom break or anything?
Feel good so far?
Okay. Parker, make sure you start your audio recording.
Okay.
Do we have any news for today?
Like things that happened today?
Not like specifically today, but is there any recent news?
Let me look. We have cards for Daredevil and Bullseye.
Oh, that's true.
I'm
gonna pull those up.
We have the Vibranium Heist. What is that?
That was the organized play event they were supposed to unleash at Adepticon and got slightly delayed due to mass pandemic.
Oh, so it's just like alternate. Oh, that's right. It's like alternate. It's like alternate models, right?
No, it's an alternate character cards for Red Skull and Captain America, I believe.
I thought it's not Killmonger, because Killmonger is one of the models.
Killmonger is what the mission is about, but I don't believe it actually comes with his card because it was a long time ago. But I mean, he was out at the time. But I don't think it comes with. I've never seen the alternate. Fucking fly. I've never seen the alternate Killmonger card, but I've definitely seen the ones for. I'm gonna fucking murder you, fly. It decides to fly in front of my face now.
Also, super important, Angela spoilers. I know that's a little old, but
that's very old.
But she's so beautiful. She's my boo.
You'll have plenty of time to talk about her later.
Okay. But I want to talk about her now. It's Angela. That's all I care about.
You're a retard. Where are these cards?
Yeah,
why can I not find them?
Bullseye and Daredevil just came out. We have their cards. I love that they made Daredevil. Oh, we'll talk about it later. I'm excited about Daredevil.
Ben Affleck Daredevil. Yep, I'm with you. He's the best.
Ben Affleck Daredevil.
Ben Affleck is the best comic book character.
He could play them all. Good. He's good to very good.
How would you describe your portfolio? I'd say strong to quite strong. That's a good description.
Describe myself with 2 animals.
I'd say unicorn and triceratops.
Snake. A dragon.
Wouldn't that be a
and a lion.
Would that be a quadriceratops?
Yeah, but he would have hooves.
Oh.
I think you've just discovered the title of the episode.
The main weakness.
The quadriceratops.
The main weakness to the triceratops was its soft underfoot.
Yeah.
You give it hooves.
Tender toes.
Unstoppable.
It's soft.
Because everyone knows the most undefeatable part of a horse is the hoof.
That's actually the evolutionary dead end of the horse. Those poor animals.
So tender.
Oh boy.
Ungulates are where it's at.
Ungulates?
Ungulate. Ungulate. It's the post horse. Like horses were the original like hooved creatures, like that style of hoof. But those hooves were really, really bad at the end of the Ice Age. Terrain changed a whole bunch, and so ungulates took over. So those are all the cloven-hoofed animals. Like that's why there are so many cloven-hoofed animals: antelopes, pigs, deer, all that kind of stuff. They all have 2 hooves,
cows,
and it works much better. Yeah, cows.
So like basically bovines.
Anything
that's not a horse that has hard feet.
Yeah, and that's why
How did education fail me so hard?
Apparently,
I know.
Parker wasn't your teacher, just laying down the logic.
I know. Wait, are you talking about ungulates?
Yeah, ungulates. Whoa,
I've never once said that. Not one time.
Well, ungulates are where it's at. Get you some ungulates. Hashtag ungulates.
Get you hashtag ungulates. Forever.
Yeah.
Oh my god. All right.
Science.
Yeah. Two toes is science.
If this is an example of how this podcast is going to go, I'm going to turn you guys way down.
It's trouble.
Difficult. It was just Brandon talking to two people that you can't hear.
Well, you guys are so loud that it's like cracking. Like
no.
I'm gonna.
Since we're using my audio looks beautiful right now. So
okay, I guess there's something there. All right.
Ungulates.
I'm glad Jeremy learned something today.
God damn. Every day I learn something new, particularly oven-based. So did you guys you did your intro kind of for episode 0, yes?
What do you mean?
Like what's your plan here? Like, are you guys doing your actual intro, or like, what are you doing? Or,
we got all the like background stuff out of the way for the most part.
Yeah.
But you mean like specifically for today's intro, or just our intro in general?
Just today and in general. Like, how are you going to start this, and like, what do you?
So I'm going to splice in the music and the title and everything. So we're just going to start with introducing ourselves.
Okay. And because we can't see each other, you guys are gonna are you gonna say like names? To, like,
yeah. So
speak up?
Anytime I don't specify that if I ask either of you guys anything or lead into multiple people doing something, Parker goes first, unless I say specifically, Jeremy, you go first.
That's fine. Good.
Yeah.
There's a plan. That's all
exactly.
I'm asking.
Yeah. So it's the order of priority is always me, Parker, Jeremy, unless a precedent is set in another way.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I like it. That's all I needed.
Yeah, you didn't want to just start talking.
Shit show. No.
So yeah, if I'm like, what do you guys think? I'm expecting Parker to go first, and I'll try and change it up by saying, Jeremy, what do you think? And then like I'll move it around as best I can, but I'll more than likely forget a lot, and Parker will go first all the time.
That's fine. Okay.
Deal.
Well, I gotta refill my Yahtzee shaker.
All right, I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back.
You said you didn't have to go.
Listen to me. This ungulate talk got me all wired up.
It got you all frothy.
You can't handle it. How many who's there are?
Can't handle the hooves.
You can't handle the hooves. Is there like a hockey team
Called the Hooves?
No, the Stags or something like that.
The Bucks?
Oh yeah, that's the NBA team, right?
No, that's a hockey team.
It's a hockey team.
Yeah, they play in Winchester.
Surely, can't handle the hooves is
Don't call me Shirley.
motto somewhere.
I will come through this modder and leap through your chest.
Speaking of leaping through your chest, did you see the guy who made a leather mask, a face mask for COVID-19 that's a face hugger? It looks like it's wrapped around his neck.
No, I didn't. I did see the local Texan citizen willing to make hundreds of masks for other people. And it's Leatherface.
Did I miss a Leatherface conversation?
You did. Well, it led there. We started off with face huggers.
Oh. Both? That's also good. Damn it.
You missed it all.
I did. The best part.
Do you know how long I have to prepare to not say L2 War Game at the start of the podcast?
You have to brace yourself entirely.
It's like answering the phone when you used to answer the phone as work. You're like, hello, thank you for calling the Geekery, or thank you for calling like US Bank or whatever. Like I've answered the phone 8,000 times as US Bank. Like I've answered the phone several thousand times as the Geekery. Like it all just intermixes. And so you just go on autopilot when you answer the phone, except normal people say hello. And you go into like a full sentence.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for calling Style 7 Pizza. This is delivery or carry out.
Mm-hmm.
No. I need delivery or carry out. I don't know your phone number first. Delivery or carry out.
Yeah.
Who leads with phone number? That's weird.
My intro for US Bank is, hello, thank you for calling US Bank. My name is Brandon. Can I have your social security number, please? And it sounds ridiculous. But
that is crazy.
They've already been fully verified by the computer system because you've entered all your information already. So all I need is the social security number to verify them as the correct person. And so once I have that, I give them full access to their account. And there's nothing else they can give me that would give them full access to their account. And so they either give me that or answer a general question and they hang up. Like, that's the two options we have. Because I can't give you any information about your account unless you prove who you are.
Social security number, a current picture.
But yeah, it's quite abrupt if you're not expecting it. But to talk to me at US Bank, there's only a very specific, selection of numbers you would have pressed. So...
Yeah.
But yeah, that was fun. Okay, so we are going to do intro. Then we'll talk about news. And when I say news, you guys have to chant news and bang on your table like this. News. Yeah, you have to do the Mac news chant. Or
What
else
am I saying news or news?
news.
Okay.
I'll say news.
Okay,
Yeah.
news.
Alrighty.
News.
We'll rotate who says news.
New.
News.
That's not new. News.
All right, so news we have today is spoilers come out for the 2 characters and upcoming releases. I've been trying to find out. That's what I've been looking up. I need to find what's next month. Next month is the October. I'm trying to find Asmodee's release schedule for October. I really wanted to learn this, but I fucking forgot apparently.
Daredevil, Construction Site, Punisher, She-Hulk, Wolverine.
What
Sabretooth.
day? What day?
No days. It just Wolverine, Sabretooth are November. So before that is She-Hulk, Punisher.
Where are you getting this? Normally the
Board Game Geek.
Okay.
And it's got the CP29, CP30, like it seems legit. So you've got 10-9, 10-9, 10-9. So it's Daredevil is 10-9.
Yeah, it's October
Construction
9.
Site, 10-9.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to say it. Is you said She-Hulk is on there?
Uh-huh.
10-9?
No. She is to be TBA.
Okay.
Doesn't say.
So it's Daredevil and Bullseye, Kingpin, and what's the other one? Isn't there another box?
Yeah, Punisher.
Punisher and Taskmaster, and then the construction site. They're all coming out on the 9th. Okay.
Yup.
Cool. All right. I think I'm ready to go. Are you guys ready to go?
Yeah. I'm the tail end, man.
Parker,
let's do it.
I'm going to need you to take that glass ice and slide it way away from you.
All the ice is melted.
I bet you're the saddest boy.
I'm not drinking it anymore. I politely refuse.
You are my enemy.
Get it out.
The
of my
absence of
face.
ice.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.